officially call the Wednesday, February 25th Select Board meeting to order. As a Zoom call, we'll do a roll call vote. We'll start with Rosemary.
Rosie Kennedy here.
Great to see you, Rosie. Tom?
Tom Myers here.
And just one more look out here, but I don't see Bill Wilson or Ben Galuzzi yet. And I'll say William Olson here.
Yeah, Bill Wilson just texted me about the thing. They should be. I think that they're in the wrong. I think they went to the teams meeting.
All right, well, before we get going here, I just want to take a quick moment to thank our public safety group and our and Tim and our Department of Public Works for keeping us up and running over all these storms we've had. I know they've been working long, tireless hours, lots of overtime. I don't think we see all the work they do behind the scenes. So I just wanted a shout out to public safety and our DPW group. Great leadership and great workers to keep our town safe and up and running. So Joe, I know they've been working long. I don't know if you want to say anything else too, but I know you've been keeping track of everything. But any updates on all our services throughout the weekend and Monday?
Well, I just let people know that I think most people don't realize it. While the town was out of power, our public safety and DPW workers were trying to operate on backup power. Unfortunately, in the middle of the storm, the public safety generator went out, and our folks did a great job of pivoting. They referred the calls to Ipswich. They were being dispatched through their cell phones. They didn't miss a call. They didn't miss a beat. The DPW crews were on straight for 23 hours to try to make sure the streets were clear before they went home. And then they came in the next day and did the sidewalks, opened up the buildings. We have a lot to be proud of with the people that work for the town of Hamilton, and we really appreciate them.
Thank you, Joe. And Bill Wilson joined. So Bill Wilson, we're doing a roll call vote. Just say you're here and you can hear us. I know he just logged on, so maybe he's still getting connected. There he is. Hey, Bill.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I got you now. Yep.
All right, perfect. Sorry about that.
And then I also wanted to just remind people that for the upcoming elections, the papers are due at 5 o'clock tomorrow. So I know Corinne and Joe are on to confirm that, but yes, 5 o'clock tomorrow. All papers, all signatures handed into town clerk's office. What time are you closing tomorrow, Karen?
Oh, I'll definitely be there until 5, if not more.
Karen? Okay.
Can you hear me?
All right.
Yep, we'll
Yeah,
be
I got
there.
you, Karen. Thank you.
Yep.
And all right, so we'll get on to the agenda. I just want to make those two announcements real quick before we get into things. All right, here. So we've got open positions, and I'm going to go through our laundry list of board and committee openings. Affordable Housing Trust has one opening. Conservation Commission has two openings. Community Preservation Committee has two openings. One opening for a member of Historic District Commission and one opening for an at-large member. Our Council on Aging has one opening. Our Essex North Shore Agricultural and Technical School Committee has one opening that is available through the moderator.
That might be getting filled. Bill Bowler did refer somebody to the school committee for a vote, so we're waiting to confirm that that person's been appointed.
All right, great. Finance and Advisory Committee has two openings through the moderator. And I believe I saw John McGrath on. He could love to talk to you about that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Get some help on the board.
Yeah, we actually have a candidate in the mix, so we're happy.
Good. Excellent. Hamilton Environment Impact Committee has one opening. Historic District Commission has two openings for 3-year terms, two openings for 2-year terms. One must be a resident of the historic district and one must be a resident realtor. Hamilton Wenham Recreation Board has one opening for a Hamilton resident, and the Human Rights Commission has one at-large opening. This is the time in the meeting we open for public comment. We'll take at most up to 30 minutes and allow each speaker 3 minutes. So if you have a comment, please raise your hand and Joe will get to you. So Joe, I'll let you
Right now we have Jack Whittier. Somebody's got some feedback going
feedback.
on. Be careful, folks. If you're not speaking, please mute. Bill, right now you have Jack Whittier.
Okay.
Jack, are you in the room with somebody else that has this meeting up too as well, or do you have it on the TV in background or something? Because it's echoing.
Yeah, it is echoing, but no, the answer is no. Huh. No, let me go ahead back in. I'll rejoin.
Yeah, we'll come back to you. Maybe turn your volume down. It might be your volume might be. Anybody else, Joe?
You know what, Bill? What I'm wondering is maybe it's you. Well, it should be working with everybody, but you have two things, and they're both.
No, but
One's muted though. One's muted, so it shouldn't be an issue.
I don't have. Yeah, I don't have audio on the other one. It's just the screen.
Jeannie Moran has her hand raised.
Okay, we'll go to Gene, then we'll go back to Jack.
I defer to Jack. You can let him
Okay.
speak first.
I think I came right back in. Thank you. Okay to talk now? It
Yeah.
sounds like everything's all right on my end. Good evening. This is my first opportunity to speak to you. I was just sworn in today as a new member of the Environmental Impact Committee, so it's my pleasure. And I'm going to keep this very brief. I'm talking to you in support of adoption for the warrant of the Specialized Energy Code. And we've attended a fair number of other town meetings over the last few weeks, and we're one of many communities considering this, and it enables us to continue Hamilton's heritage as a climate steward. So Emmett Holt presented a lot of technical details. I realize this is coming up later tonight as a topic on the agenda, but just want to review it for you that it is we've done all the hard work so far in terms of getting some of the criteria established to get us to a climate leader position, which enables us to apply for funding from a very reliable state funding source, the Department of Energy Resources, and they've supported us for years, and the opportunity sits there for more support for future investments. So with that, I'd be glad to answer questions, but I realize it's on the agenda for later in the evening. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. Yeah, we will have that discussion later. We have some home builders and developers in town are going to join and give us their sort of opinion on impacts and their, how it would impact, future development in town and their cost impacts and things like that. So we'll just get their feedback and as we make a decision. So
That's great.
So that discussion will be open later. Gene?
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I'm Jean Moran at 21 Garfield Avenue, and I am chair of the Hamilton Environmental Impact Committee. And I've spoken before about hoping for the adoption of the specialized code, but in particular to be putting it onto the warrant, as Jack has already said. Again, it will, if we are able to become climate leader community, it will open up $1 million in grants that we can apply for to continue our decarbonization and weatherization and all of the other possible projects to do with energy. And we're very excited for the town hall to be opening up in May, I hope, which will be a decarbonized town hall, which also is mirrored in a different version at the Wenham Town Hall. I also wanted to mention that both Wenham and Hamilton are pursuing the status of climate leader at the same time. And the money, the $1 million could be used entirely for Hamilton projects. Wenham could possibly reach $1 million too, but it could be joint money used for the school system too. Again, focusing on energy issues. The DOER recommends that we have public information meetings about the climate leader and specialized code. And so I have set up at the library, Hamilton Wenham Library, for Thursday, March 5th from 6 to 7 for anyone to come and learn about the specialized code in their large meeting room. And our monthly meeting will be held right before that. And of course, people are welcome to join our monthly meeting too at any time. So this one will be in the monthly meeting and the open discussion about the specialized code will be again at the library March 5th from like 5 to 7 o'clock. So people are welcome to join us, and I hope you will. Thank you.
Gene, is there any flyers or anything advertising that? I'm just wondering if it's been pushed out to like the Facebook page or anything like that, just to get more people involved. I think that's a great thing you're doing, getting that together. Just curious if there's anything we can put out there to the community.
Working on it as we speak. So I can get that to the select board, and the flyer. We have also published we just put together a specialized stretch code explanation. So that one's ready to go. I could email that to you tomorrow.
Excellent.
So
Thank you.
I'll get those both to you. Thank you very much.
Thank
And,
you.
Mr. Chairman, Ben Galuzza joined the meeting at about 7:08.
Excellent. Hey, Ben. Can you hear us? Are you there?
Yeah. Hi. Sorry.
Okay,
Tech
great.
failure.
I'm sorry.
All right.
That's all right. It's all good. All right. We have a consent agenda. We have meeting minutes from January 20th, 2026. We have meeting minutes from February 2nd, 2026 from the Bolton Select Board, and we have the approval for the 30th annual, amazingly enough, Melody Miles Road Race, which, like you said, year after year. So 30, I don't know if it's continuous years, but 30 years. So before we make a motion, is any discussion from the board on these three items? So can I have a motion to approve meeting minutes from January 20th, meeting minutes from February 2nd, and the annual Melody Miles Road Race on, it doesn't actually have a date here, but it's in the packet.
May 22nd or 23rd.
Thanks, Rosie.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Any further discussion?
No.
All right, our roll call vote will start with Rosemary.
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Tom Myers,
Tom Myers, aye.
Bill Wilson. Bill, I didn't pick you up there, sorry. I think you're on mute still.
Bill Wilson, aye.
Gotcha. Ben
Ben Galuzza, aye.
and William Olson, aye. All right, agenda. We got a busy agenda. Most of it's getting ready for the our next town meeting, but we'll go through a few things first before we get to those topics. First one is a department head report with the treasurer collector, Peggy McLaughlin, and talk about town fund investments and new prudent investment act. So, sure, I'll turn it to you, and you can lead the discussion with Peggy.
Yeah, you'll remember the board had asked at a previous meeting a month or so ago to have an update on how our funds are invested. So we've got Peggy here. It is good timing because Peggy also wants to speak to the board briefly in favor of putting an article for the Prudent Investment Act onto the town meeting warrant. Prudent Investment Act is a new state law that allows towns to invest in a certain way, and Peggy has all the info for you. So Peggy, we can take it away. Peggy, you're on
You're on
mute.
mute, Peggy, sorry.
You got to mute.
Keeps going back to me. Am I okay now?
Yes.
Sorry, I had a great intro and I was muted. Hi, everybody. Hope you're all doing good. I have been asking Joe and Wendy about the prudent investment the last couple of years. It's what we do for our OPEB funds. Right now, our trust funds, all we can do is use the legal list. And on the legal list, all you can do is invest in certain accounts. The prudent investment allows us to go a little outside the box and make a little bit more money on the trust funds. We are making, I want to say about 6.5%, maybe a little higher since 2012 with our OPEB. With our trust funds, we've only been making about 2.5. in our rate of return. So the prudent investor just gives us a little more opportunity to make a little more money on those trust funds that are stable monies, and we just use the interest off those accounts. So for me, I think it's a great idea to start investing our money that way. We don't have to do everything. You're not allowed to do stabilization still, that the state wants left at the state legal list as far as investing. It's only your trust funds that they're opening it up to. And we have been able to do our OPEB funds that way. I'm not sure what you guys are looking for as far as investing overall. Like we've been doing really well with Salem 5, MMDT. They've been giving us pretty good rates. The last couple of years, just in our general funds, we've made about $600,000 in interest, and that's just on our regular banking account. So we've done well. I'm not sure investing what you're looking for. Is it long term? Is it short term? What are you looking to do?
So 600K in investment is incredible. What do we do with that? Is that go back into the fund it's in? Can it be used in other areas? What happens to the interest of
Well, the
these
600K is general fund. So that went back into our general fund.
general fund? Okay.
Yes. The
Well,
other
what
accounts
about-
have done really well as well.
So what about the trust funds, I guess? You were talking about trust funds at 2.5 versus prudent funds at 6, I think.
So
But
the trust fund, like the cemetery trust fund, is one we'd be talking about. Tim can use the interest on that to keep the maintenance and all that in the cemetery. He
Okay.
can't use the principal. So that's why they're saying you should use the prudent investment, because you can make more money on the principal, and then that gives Tim more money in the cemetery fund to work on the cemetery.
okay, so but if you go to the prudent or whatever it was called investment, it still has to be for cemetery. It can't be brought into other stuff, correct? Or
Correct. It's just
Okay.
for our trust funds, and the OPEB fund is what
Okay.
the state is allowing prudent investments.
okay.
Everything else you
So
have to
Peggy,
follow the legal list.
Yeah, to back up a little bit, what we had sort of asked for is summaries that we have we've talked about all these different funds we have in town, and we're going to be creating new funds with some of the money we might be getting from Gordon Conwell, and we have a patent, some money from the patent. So we're trying
Okay.
to understand all the different funds we have, what the balances are of those funds and what the yearly return is, just so we can sort of understand big picture on what we have out there and what, because we're going to, we have a lot of costs coming up and we have a lot of debt coming up. We just wanted to understand as a town what are all, so we just wanted to make sure we didn't lose track of anything. So we're kind of just looking for that update, right, Joe? That was kind of the ask.
Yep.
You're looking for the balances of all our accounts as of now?
I think
All the different funds that we
Just to
have.
understand what some of the funds are. Maybe if you could give an example, give a list of what the funds are that we have and what they go to. I know there's 2 or 3 funds that are used specifically by the Conservation Commission, for instance. Just provide them a little list, because not everybody sees the whole account book.
Okay, so for banking accounts, what I have is our operating, payroll, and vendor account. Then we have like the HDC accounts. We have a money market account with Salem 5, which a lot of that is swept into like where they keep the monies, and a bunch of banks invest in that money because you can only keep $250 in the account. We have Lockbox has its own separate account. That's where everybody sends all their money for tax payments. The same with Unibank. We have a bunch of different accounts. So those are considered like our general operating accounts that we have. Then we have like the MMD investments, where we have the recreation fields has money in there. I also have I moved some out of the regular accounts because we were doing pretty good. So I moved $2.5 million out there just to make more interest for the town. And then we have the MMD CPA. We had moved money from CPA out of there just to be available because they were spending a lot. Then we have the Bartholomew Trust Funds, which are all our flower funds, cemetery funds, sale of lots and grave funds. We have our capital stabilization fund. We have our stabilization fund, and our recreation for the fields. We have that in MMDT as a fund as well.
Peggy's on the right track here. Excuse me. but we have to file a balance sheet every year with the Department of Revenue.
Yep.
So I actually do have a list of all the funds. Peggy's doing it, and because there's pooled cash, and then of course there's special revenue funds. So I can share a screen and ask you if this is the particular document you might be looking for, and then I can send it out to you guys.
I mean, the conversation was more started about when we are seeing money from the Gordon Conwell, and we talked about whether we want to establish a different fund. We kind of said, what are all the funds we have? So we're not really worried about the general fund and the annual cost stuff. We're more interested in all the funds we have set aside for the special events or the stabilization fund. So that's sort of what we wanted to understand and focus on, because there's, what money's left in the patent fund and what other funds were we not aware of, that's just sort of earning money out there that we're not spending, we're not planning on. So that's kind of what I don't want to speak for the whole board, but does the board agree
Do you
with
want me
that
to share,
assessment?
Bill? Do you want me to share a screen, Bill, and
Sure.
see if, yeah, is that all right, Joe?
Yeah.
Are you doing the cash for the end of the year account? When?
No, I'm going to share the balance sheet. So hold on one second here. And just tell me if this is what you might be looking for. So you can see here, every fund is a number. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, you
Yes.
see every fund has a number associated with it, and it's specific to that fund. There's a name, and there's the amount right here, the fund balance. So we have to report this every year, and I think this might be, now that I'm hearing it clearer, this might be what you're looking for. So every department has different funds available, but they're specific to what they can use them for. So is this more of what you guys might be looking for?
This is outside of our general fund.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So what's the total of all these fund numbers?
So the special revenue funds, $3 million right here. And then, of course, you have your capital projects funds, and then you have your trust funds, and your enterprise. So this is how it's broken out. And if this is the type of document you're looking for, I can absolutely send this out to you.
So for our OPEB stabilization for capital, general fund, and rec, we have 6,396,000 as of the end of last year in those, if that's what you're asking.
All right, so
you can see them right here as Peggy's
And,
talking.
and these are the trust funds and the stabilization
Yeah.
funds.
Right. So there are quite a number of funds. So when you're talking about Gordon Conwell, that's exactly what you're where we would specifically be asking you to set up a special revenue account,
Right.
which would be deemed specific to what the town would expect to spend it on.
so
And are these
that-
different accounts or just different funds within one account?
No, different special revenue account, all different accounts.
so that's the
Well,
question. Like,
As far as investing, Peggy has them separate. Peggy, you can talk to that part.
Yeah, I
But
have
on the-
some in
on the books.
MFDT, some with Bartholomew.
Right.
It just, some with Salem 5. It just depends on what you can do. CDs. It depends on what we're looking for. You could do treasury notes. You can invest it in our bigger accounts if you just want to, and we can keep it separated by Wendy's GLs. It's what your plans are. Are you going to spend it in 6 months? Are you going to let it accrue interest? It's how you want to invest the money. What are your thoughts on that?
So Peggy,
Right.
uh,
are we overfunded is my concern here. We've got $6 million dedicated to specific funds parked in areas for dedicated spending. Is that good or bad? This says 7.3. I heard 6 million earlier. I mean,
Well, stabilization, you have to keep that amount of money, right?
Right.
which one?
you
Capital
know-
stabilization? Which one? We've got a bunch of them.
Both.
Well, we just have two: capital stabilization and capital.
Yeah.
Right. So every
And
year we approve
stabilization.
capital, we have a stabilization fund. So are we parking money in areas that make sense for when we need it? Is the overarching question, in my opinion. Or do we have money parked in like areas that are sitting there idle that
So-
could be used in better spots?
So if I could, some of the funds here that are set up were set up because they were bequests, they were gifts to the town. The
Mhm.
Clark Fund, for instance, was a gift to the town, and it's got specific.
Those all make sense to me. But we're talking overrides, folks, right? So are we parking money in funds that could better be utilized elsewhere? Is my question.
So right now, Bill, so it's general stabilization and the capital stabilization, both are under the policy, at the policy limit, right? Same as free cash, right? We have to keep 5% aside. So that's the
Yeah.
policy that drives how much money sits aside. So
Right.
right now, we're within the policy limits, and capital stabilization is actually behind because of the fire truck.
Yeah,
We took money out and then we're recouping. So this is the third year that we're trying to recoup. And as we're recouping, the depreciation rate keeps going higher. So it's a moving target. So in the capital stabilization, for example, we're not there yet. It should be 1.9 million. So we're underfunded in that. But the general stabilization, we are making the cut year after year, barely. But we're at the reserve. We're not over the reserve, for example.
And the OPEB fund that's other post-employments. We kind of
Yep.
have to have that fund by the state.
All right, so let's talk about the recreational field stabilization fund, the 680,000. What is that earmarked for?
For what I understood, that's earmarked to pay on that bond that they took out for the fields. That money was set aside to use to pay for the fields.
So are we using that to pay for the fields?
We have not yet.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't
my
know.
point.
That would be more, I guess, a Joe question.
I believe there was special language. Is that correct, Joe?
Yeah, we got into some dicey situation with this because the town is set aside with the caveat that whatever we spend on the fields, if it's fields that the Wenham's going to use, they have to set aside their share. And so we had this money, we could have put it toward the principal and not borrowed as much, but Wenham didn't want to take their vote the way they did, as I recall. So
Yeah.
they were just taking the vote as part of the debt exclusion, and they weren't going to set aside money. I think we had this money and we had money from something else that we were putting in. And because it wasn't raised together, this couldn't be applied that way. Now you could, now that it's all the money's been borrowed, we could look at finding a way to have this offset some of what the debt exclusion is on the Hamilton taxpayers bill is. But that would only be for a year or two because it's $680,000 going to go away pretty quick. But you could alleviate the burden a little bit on the taxpayer potentially by applying this in one or two payments over a couple of years and try and take down how much of the debt exclusion has to get passed through to the taxpayer.
Or at least taking interest, or at least using the interest to pay down the debt if it's even like $50,000 a year. Did this start at 500? I mean, I don't know, John. Did this start at 500,000?
500,000.
Yes.
So we made 180. So we made $180,000 over the past, what it is, 5-10 years in interest. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. So I mean, I don't think we're gonna go fund by fund, but John, I think this is something we want to get into in the next year. Sort of go through these funds and answer the question that Bill asked. Like, are these funds? Do we know what each one's for? Are we using it appropriately? Are we overfunded? We move things around, but we don't want to have money sitting that could help our taxpayers if the money could work for us in a better way. So,
Exactly. To me, I think we can. I think we have opportunity here. $7.3 million sitting in funds.
Plus we have another three. Plus another three.
Plus another three.
So we have 10.
Yep.
But I mean, obviously, some of it has to stay because it's
yeah,
because it's
100%,
required. But
100%.
right.
But you also have to think that in those dollars is money for the debts that we've taken out, to finish the town hall project. For all those things, that money has been given to us. It's in these accounts, but we haven't paid all the bills for everything.
Yeah, so if we could lay that out, like what's committed
It's right here.
to pay
It's right
down.
here. It's
Okay.
under capital projects, Bill. Sorry.
Okay, perfect.
So
So
I have a question that just gets back to the main question, talking about the type of location where we invest this money. I mean, now I presume we're in money market funds and they're safe, totally safe ventures. Is that correct? Do I understand that correctly?
The trust funds and the stabilization are all with Bartholomew
Yeah,
Investments, and all those monies are there. A lot, our operating funds are in like Salem 5, Eastern Bank,
Right.
and they're all funded, and we have them in the sweep accounts. So they get anything over 250 gets moved. So it's all FD, all covered. And yes, we are protected in all those
Okay.
ways.
So that's my question. And then if we opt to go elsewhere to invest this money, how would we decide how prudent our investment should be? Who would decide that? I mean, that gets us into dicey territory, right? The stock market's doing really well right now, but I think when we're talking about town funds and trust funds, I get a little nervous when I think about the degree of risk that we would incur.
Well, that's the other thing with Bartholomew, like with our OPEB right now, we're 70-30 risk because that's like in there for long durations. Our trust funds are at a 20-80 right now. So there's not really much risk. You can pick,
Right.
we can decide we want a 60-30, a 20-40. That's all up to us on how you want to put this money. We do have options.
And right, and so there's my question. Would Wendy help us to decide what would be the most prudent risk formula for how would we do that? I guess I'm trying to understand that. As I said, it makes me a little nervous to think about incurring a potentially higher risk and when is enough. So I'm just asking the question.
Bartholomew has been really good, and we've been very fortunate, and they do not
Right.
go out and take chances. They have also said if you have questions, they'd be more than happy to come to a board meeting or do a Zoom meeting and go over everything with you if you'd like that too. I know they've come once before to a finance committee meeting a couple years ago. They're more than happy to
Okay.
talk with you as well if you'd like.
So, you're saying we would stay with Bartholomew, but
Bartholomew for our trust, yes.
okay,
But if you want to do like a CD or, Bartholomew's not who you would go to for that. You would go to different banks locally or reach out to other vendors and see what they offer.
right. So I'm just trying to understand if we decided that we wanted to incur more risk in our trust funds, who would we go to for the proper advice for that? I guess that's my question.
I could have Bartholomew come and talk with you.
Okay.
I would think they would be the best. What do you think, Wendy? To me, that would be the best way.
Well, Peggy would be the end because she's the treasurer. She would be the one to actually make the decision. We could make recommendations, but as the treasurer, that is, what she does. But Peggy also uses great tools like Bartholomew, like MMDT, and they help to advise us, giving us the pros and cons. So we have sat together and made a decision, a recommendation, and like with small money, for example, and just said, yeah, we think this is the right way to go. But Peggy has the final call because she's the treasurer. I think that's what you're asking,
Yeah.
Rosie.
Yeah, and just how do we decide how much risk
Right.
to incur? So just general questions. Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you.
And to get back to your original comment was about us adopting this new policy for investment of trust funds. What's the value? You chose a lot of different spreadsheets, but what's the value if we voted for this, of the monies that would be eligible for this different investment
The
source?
cemetery and the flower funds and stuff, they're about 550. You can't put the stabilizations in that.
So you're talking
550,000.
so be under $1 million of the
Yes.
of the monies we have set aside.
Yes.
Okay.
In the
So
trust
it's not
funds.
they're not risky funds we're putting in this.
No, they're
These are
smaller.
yeah.
The big funds, they say, like if we had scholarship funds, but we don't really have that and stuff. You could make more money doing it that way. We don't have, I guess the schools would have that.
So Joe, in the packet, there's a KP Law
Briefing, yeah.
sort
Yeah.
of. There's
That
a
was
KP
what
Law
they wrote up
one-page
on it.
write-up. Is this
Yes.
what we're going to be discussing for the warrant?
Yes.
Yeah.
So can you pull it up and speak to it?
I read this a couple weeks ago, so it's gonna be foggy in my mind. But basically, it's just that the state is now allowing certain limited amounts of funds that are under a total of $250,000. Is that right, Peggy? to be invested differently, like such as with outfits like MMDT or Bartholomew, which because of the way they manage the money comes with a little bit more risk, but generally with a larger payout. So the idea
Can
is
you
that
pull
right
up
now
can you pull up that
trust
memo?
funds aren't allowed because we haven't adopted that section of the state law. Peggy is not allowed to use Bartholomew for those funds. The request here is, could you put it on the warrant, see if town meeting's in favor of it, and that would give her the option to invest those funds like the ones that she was just mentioning into with Bartholomew or some similar entity to improve how much they make for the town.
It's how we invest the OPEB funds right now. We use prudent investment for the OPEB's accounts. They are just now, when they opened the OPEB's account, the state gave cities and towns permission to do it that way. They did not for trust funds and stabilization, but now they are for trust funds, still not for stabilizations. And it is just giving them, it's giving them more places to go to invest. Right now, you can only do the legal list. If you do prudent investing, it gives you more options to invest in other places. And like I said, our OPEB is making 6.75%, and our trust funds are making 3.16 as of 2/29/12 is what they sent me today. So it just gives us an avenue to make a little bit more earnings on our investments.
And John McGrath, is this something you guys would be willing to look at? You have time to look at this before town meeting to give an opinion?
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly talk to Peggy.
It sounds like we're already doing it. It's the precedent. I mean, we're already doing it in town. We're already doing it with OPEB, a much bigger fund. So the precedent's there in town to do it, but we just want to just look at to make sure if these additional trust funds make sense as well.
Yeah. We can express an opinion on it. I'll tell you right now, what we're simply doing is giving the treasurer additional flexibility. And one thing Peggy could probably tell us is if we had invested this for a year, what's the dollar difference between 3.16 and 6.75? I mean, so it's definitely worth some money. But basically, you're just giving the treasurer additional flexibility. But we can
sound like about $15,000, right? 3% of 500,000. So
my recommendation would be let's do a bit more study on this and make sure all you folks are up to speed on it. And I'm certainly willing to get up to speed on it. But it sounds like we've kind of caught you guys off guard here and really didn't prep well enough in advance to make a decision. But I think the decision is easy to make. So if you want some more study, I would recommend you do that.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first discussion we've had. So I think you're always surprised the first time you have a discussion, but that's what's all you got to start somewhere. So I appreciate everybody talking about it and giving us information.
I will say I apologize. That was on me. The budget took over and I lost sight of this. So my bad for not bringing it sooner.
I just have one further clarifying questions. When you talk about the trust funds, which includes the cemetery perpetual care funds, is it many of the trust funds that you just listed for us, or is it just those few funds?
Well, it's flower fund, so it's like family flower fund. So there's probably 10 or 15 different little family accounts that make up that group, along with our cemetery and the flag fund and the sale of lots and graves are also all built into those.
Yeah.
It appears like it's all in probably under $1 million of funds.
Yeah. Okay.
So what would happen is if we do this with the trust funds, the stabilization and the trust funds are all in one bucket right now. They would take those out of that bucket and leave stabilization where it is. And we would be able to invest this money differently.
Okay.
So Joe, what do you recommend for next steps? 'Cause I'm not sure if we're going to be able to also add this to the warrant at this point, but If we wanted to, what does it look like?
Oh, so you can close the warrant next week on Monday. So if
Oh,
you
so
don't
it's-
have it on the warrant now, then it's another year that goes by that we can't do it at all. We can't have the conversation. We have 2 months before town meeting. You know, my recommendation is to plan for it to be on the warrant, and let's have the conversation between now and town meeting and hope everybody is comfortable with it. And if you can always make a motion at the town meeting floor to take no action. We want to study it further and ask the moderator to take no action, have that ratified, and you don't have to move on it. But if you don't take the next couple of weeks to look at it, then you'll miss another whole year.
Yeah,
Right,
I'd
which
recommend
is-
leaving it on the warrant, and I think we can rally around this. It's for the benefit of the taxpayers, so we can, I think, step up and get educated. So
Yeah, just let me know if there's something I can do, what else you'd need, or I'm more than happy to do it for you.
All right, Joe, let's move on from this topic, but let's put together a plan between John McGrath and more information for us and get it on next. I don't know if it's too late to put it on next week's meeting to talk about it further.
We can get back to more information for you for next week. I think that your goal is to close the warrant next week, so all the items that are up for discussion on the warrant are on the agenda. Essentially, you've already posted that, so you'll have the right to talk about it again next week. We'll try to pull together a better idea, specifically which funds, how much money is in them, and how much could have been made if we've been using the Prudent Investment Act in the past versus what was made. That sound fair, Wendy?
Yeah, it'd be good to see that spreadsheet highlighted with what funds you're recommending for
Yeah.
this that would comply with this new.
Okay.
Yes, Peggy and I will pull that
Regulation.
together for you.
All right.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else on the board have any comments before
No,
we
I think
move
that's
on to this
good, but
topic?
we don't have a list of the funds and the dollars, right? I saw it on the screen, but it's not in the packet, right?
No,
Correct.
it's
No,
not.
we don't. I mean, people can ask for, but we don't generally publish that. So we can.
No,
we can
I'm not
share it.
asking. I would want it in the packet though. I want to look at it.
Yeah, I can give you a list of it makes up that fund. It's got the family names and everything by account.
Yeah, that would,
If
I
we're going to
would,
talk about it Monday, we need that in advance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, I do. How
I'm not
about the
sure-
last statement that I got from Bartholomew for December, and it would have each account
perfect.
with
That'd
the
be
great.
current balance as of December 31st. I get them for quarterly.
Perfect.
I mean,
I
just
can-
make it simple. Just make it simple for us to understand. So I
Yeah,
don't
it's
want
an
to get
Excel
too
spreadsheet
complicated,
that
but
you would just see
okay,
the
perfect.
names and the dollar amount. That's all you'd
Perfect.
see.
That's
Yeah,
simple.
thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
Yeah. Well,
Great.
thanks, Peggy. We'll need that tomorrow because I got to put the packet together tomorrow for Monday.
All right,
Thank
I'll email it up to you, Joe, in the morning.
Thank
Sounds
you,
great.
Peggy.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
You're
Peggy.
very welcome.
Thank you, Peggy.
You're welcome.
All right.
Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night, Peggy. Thank you.
You
Good
as
work.
well.
Good work.
Good discussion.
Thank you.
Approved common victular's license. Thank you, Peggy. For new
Thanks.
owners of Five Sons, discussion vote. So, yeah, we had a great family in town running Five Sons, and it seems like they're turning it over to new ownership. So, we're sad to see them go, but welcome the new owners with open arms for our community. So, Joe, I'm not sure if they're here to talk about
Sure.
what their goals are for the.
I
new
hope they
business.
are. We accept this up. First of all, their packet's complete. They've done everything that they were supposed to do to get to this point. Lori told me that all of their paperwork is complete. Their insurance, their inspections, everything's in. So it's really just a matter of you guys voting on it. I think they're here. Is anybody from the new entity here?
Yes.
Yes,
Hi.
sir.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to meet you all. Let me open the camera.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
This
to
radio,
meet you
my
again.
partner, Stadium. How you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
You guys want to tell
So,
these guys?
yeah, what's
you
your
guys want to tell
plan
the
for
board
the?
about what you're doing?
Yes. So I've been in the business for 12 years now. I work for my family, they own Peabody House of Pizza. And 5 years ago, I got my own place. It's Stoneham House of Pizza. And my buddy,
Hi, how are you? And the same thing. I've been in this business. I sold my Stoneham house to Reddit, and after that, I was in Lanefield, and now I'm in Ipswich House of Pizza. I own Ipswich House of Pizza for 3 years.
so we're planning to take over 5 Sons. We like the town of Hamilton, not just for doing business, but we want to be part of the community, help the community as well. You know, that's the goal to make everybody happy.
Do you have a date for taking over the business?
So we signing the final March 2nd, but waiting on the landlord lawyer approval probably by tomorrow. We're hoping so. Everything else I think is done.
What's your signature? What's your signature, Pete? Are you gonna change anything that's sort of more you? Are you gonna keep things the same, or what's the plan for the
No,
restaurant,
everything
the
is
menu,
gonna
the atmosphere?
yeah, everything is gonna be the same. We're not gonna change anything.
Even the employer is going to
yeah.
be the same.
Their kids willing to work with us. They're the couple is gonna stay with us for like 3 months. They're gonna show us how they do their recipe. So we're not gonna change anything. We're just gonna do a smooth transition and hopefully make it better.
I don't know. Jen's going to be pretty hard to beat.
Yeah. Jen's been she's been a great steward of the community. She's been helping out with lots of events. I'm
Yes.
hoping you guys also join in all the community and charitable events that
the great
that
family.
Five Sons has provided over the
Yeah,
years.
the
So
same thing. We're going to help the community as for anything you need, any donation or whatever, count on us or everything.
We're glad to have.
We're glad to help you and community.
so I'll accept the motion and we can have further discussion, but I'll accept the motion to approve the common victuals license for, let me go to my sheet here. Common victuals license for new owners of Five Sons. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Tom, Ben, Rosie, or Bill, any more questions or comments for the new ownership group?
Well, we certainly wish you lots of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Welcome to the community.
Yeah,
Thank
you.
We are
Appreciate
all
that.
future customers, so it's all good.
Ah,
Yeah, we're a loyal group, so yeah, you take care of us.
You'll
we'll
be
take
at
care
my
of you,
house at
so.
least once a week, just to know.
We're going to see you around all the time.
Hopefully meet every one of you in person.
Right. I think we
And
met
many-
before together.
My last comment is to learn that buffalo chicken pizza recipe really well. That's my favorite.
Okay.
We're going to show you personally in the store.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
I see oh no, nobody's raised hand. Okay. So I think we'll do a roll call vote. Start with Rosemary,
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Tom Myers,
Tom Myers, aye.
Bill Wilson,
Bill Wilson, aye.
and Ben,
Ben Galuzza, aye.
and William Olson, aye. So unanimous, and we look forward to many nights of pizza from Five Sons. So thank you for keeping
Thank
the
you.
business
Good
going.
luck. Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
guys. I appreciate it.
Next item on the agenda is designate Police Chief Edward Guy to assign police details for 2026 election as needed. Discuss and vote. Joe, who's presenting this topic?
I will, and Karen can jump in if she'd like, but this is becoming kind of a standard topic. It used to always be that the police chief designated the detail crews for elections. A couple years ago, the state changed the law, seeing fit to give that responsibility to the select boards. Since that's happened, the Hamilton Select Board every year annually designates the police chief to do the job they've always been doing, which makes more sense. We just, at the request of the town clerk, we've asked you to make that again so the chief can, based on his staffing, assign the officers for the details.
Okay. Any other questions?
Pretty straightforward.
Do I have a motion to designate Police Chief Edward Guy to assign police details for the 2026 election as needed?
So moved.
Yep.
Have a second?
Second.
Corinne, did we miss anything? Are we all good to vote?
Nope, absolutely all good to vote. Thanks, Joe. Thank you all.
All right, roll call vote. Rosemary,
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Tom,
Tom Myers, aye.
Bill Wilson,
Bill Wilson, aye.
Ben Galuzza,
Ben Galuzza, aye.
and William Olson, aye. All right, moving right along. This is going to
Thank
be a
you.
little bit longer discussion. Joe, just to recap, is there anything we need to sign that I need to come by and sign? Let me know and I'll come by tomorrow.
Yeah, well, there's going to be a bunch of stuff that you guys need to sign. Some of it we'll ask you to try and stop by before the weekend, but otherwise, I'll just bring everything Monday night to the Council on Aging.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Joe?
So review the next item, review updated budget proposal and options and for Proposition 2.5 override. So I just want to give the quick summary of where we ended up before tonight's meeting, and then we can see where we go after tonight's meeting. So prior to tonight's meeting, I feel like we've agreed as a group that we do not want to have our town budget rely on an override to get passed. So what we've decided to do as a compromise with the school committee is that we would vote on a balanced budget, which would be basic services, not level services, that would meet our current levy level as a combined vote. We would have a second vote for the override, which would have a few $100,000 of Hamilton items that would bring us back to a level services budget. And then the school would add their monies over and above the levy limit for a combined override. That way, what we felt would happen if the budget passed, we at least would have a budget to work with. And if the override failed, we'd have time to work on the override without impacting our town budget over the next weeks and months. There's things we would have to give up that we would like, but it's our opportunity to go in front of the community at town meeting and say, hey, we want these things, they're important. An override is allowed to happen. It's legal to happen. It's just an additional process to have happen to sort of pay for things that we want to have, that we think are part of our services, and dealing with obviously a lot of increases in costs between trash and insurance and unions and things like that. So there's a bunch of reasons why we have it, but and then what we did last year is a big part of it is that we used free cash last year to sort of help the process, and that just kicked the can down the road a little bit. So although our budget is not as big of a change from last year, this year, the $500,000 deficit of free cash sort of makes it seem like a worse jump than it is. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So we kind of just have to decide as a group what the numbers. So Joe's going to give us a presentation what the numbers look like. We have to decide as a group if we're all comfortable with that compromise of having a split article. One article would be a basic services to meet the levy limit, and the second article would be the override to have what we consider level service. Joe, did I state that correctly?
You did. Thank you. I appreciate it. That saves me a lot of talking since I'm going to do the next part of talking. So I wanted to provide you some budget updates really quick as we to help you with your decision. Since the last meeting, quite a while ago now, 3 weeks ago, the Hamilton Wenham Regional School District reduced its assessment to Hamilton for operating. This doesn't include the debt service because that's a pass through from the debt exclusion acts from the previous debt exclusion. So this is the operating budget assessment for Hamilton is now $25,973,746. Wendy can jump in anytime I say anything wrong and correct me. The town was able to reduce our insurance costs by $96,967. And we've also shifted $64,557 that we had in the budget to be raised and appropriated. We're going to take it out of free cash because it's actually for the final lease payment on a fire department vehicle, and therefore it's a capital item. So it is allowable for us to use the capital to use free cash for capital items. So this creates a new operating deficit of $1.340,505 in the overall operating budget for FY27. So the town meaning Wendy and I had previously recommended that we could put on the override $50,000 for the part-time communications position that had originally been recommended. We could put $108,000 for new requested patrol officer in the HPD that was requested. We could put another $42,981 that was originally proposed and requested for the public safety admin. We are keeping the full-time public safety admin that was recommended by John in the FinCom, but we originally had 1.5 there, so we're moving a half of them out. And then we would recommend putting $60,000 for a currently unfilled position in the DPW. That position has been open for almost a year now, and we put that on the override. That would result in a town override of $260,981. and school district override of $1,079,524. Your other option, if you felt that you wanted to make it a little bit more even, is that there are two additional options for town override. There's 45,475 for a half-year admin position that is expected mid-year, and $69,350 for a half-year police patrol position that is also expected mid-year. So we're anticipating two mid-year retirements. If we put these on the override and the override doesn't pass, we just wouldn't fill those for the last 6 months of the year. They'd stay open, and then we would be trying to bring them back in FY28. So this would result in a $375,806 town override and a $964,600 override for the schools. So those are your two options. Either way, the amount of money that we're trying to split is $1,340,505. Just how much of the bite you want to take for the town and how much you want to shift to the schools.
Joe, can I ask a question? So I think the messaging that we have is that the initial vote is for a basic services budget, and then the override is for a level service budget. But it sounds like we're offering new positions, and so for the override. So how is that level services? Is that seems like extra?
Yes and no. I mean, we build the budget based on what the select board and the FinCom and the department heads tell us during the budget process we need to continue to provide services. There's not really any, I wouldn't call any of these fat, like, we've got some, we're really actually at some meat when you talk about the police officer. You got to keep in mind the $108,000 for the requested police officer. Part of the reason we're funding that is because part of the reason we requested that is because we're getting rid of the entire reserve police patrol program because there are no reserve police officers anymore. So we had over $100,000 annually scheduled into that to pay reserve police officer salaries. There's nobody to pay there. So that program is going away. This was kind of a one-for-one. What we're saying is that we would get by using overtime and probably potentially forced overtime to fill vacant shifts if officers had to call in sick.
Okay.
I mean, all these things we have now, we have them in a different form, Tom. So it's not necessarily like when you say level, it's a level concept of services. You're allowed to change sort of how you provide the service, but it's the same service we have now because we have the PT communications that we talk about, but we do it internally. We're not doing a good job of it, right? So, and we have the public safety admin position, but we're getting rid of it. So we're trying to keep that transition that we recommend. So, yeah, it's not like level like one for one, but it's level in terms of the services the town requires and how we provide those services to the town.
Yep. No, I think that makes sense.
It does, but it's still like how many FTEs incrementally year over year is it?
Well, you've already eliminated 4 full-timers and 2 part-timers with the move of the I don't want to understate. I don't want to undersell that. We've already changed the way we're going to provide service with the move of the dispatch, which I think was the right call. But we already eliminated 4 positions, and now with the first level here, you'll be looking at another 3 FTEs, 2 full-time positions and 2 part-time positions. And if you get into the second level of what is possible or that we're suggesting is possible, that's 2 more full-timers for half of the year. So it would be at the end of the day, 3 FTEs for 6 months and 5 FTEs for the last 6 months of the year.
Joe, I'm not in favor of the second one.
Yeah, me
either.
either.
Go ahead.
That's
I'm
what
not the second one because that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, man.
Totaling all up from like where we were a year ago, that's a total workforce reduction of 8 full-time equivalents. If we went all the way with this second option. Am I doing that math right, Joe?
Just about, yeah. The 4 we already lost from and then the others that we're proposing here. But part of the reason we recommended it this way is if you wanted to go more than the 260, 981, we're trying to get away from having to lay anybody off. If we lay anybody off, we have to then account for unemployment insurance and a host of other expenses that come up when you lay somebody off. So we wind up, you almost have to lay off 3 people to get the value of 2. And we're trying not to do that. These would be positions that would be vacant because they're going to be retirees. And rather than fill them and spend that money, you could save yourself the money for 6 months, and we would be trying to bring them back in 28. I guarantee you, we would be right back here this time next year saying we need to bring those positions back into the fold.
But aren't we
Because
saving
everybody
money
in
with the
the
call
front-
center as well next year?
I'm sorry?
Aren't we saving additional money with the 911 desk, the call center, in the following year?
Yeah, we expect to, yes. So
Yeah. I mean, that's going to offset it. I mean, we got a little bump because
Yeah.
it's half the year.
right.
You got savings. So, I mean, I don't know that you'd have to come back for more money after that for level.
No, we we'd be looking to bring the police officer positions back at least,
Right.
but we should have the money, like you said, the
I mean-
goal would be that, insurance, inflation slows down, we stop getting banged with double-digit increases to our insurance. We have a known contract in place for the trash, and we'll be able to bring those positions back easily in 28. But the unknown is this time next year, I'll be negotiating with 4 unions, and they're going to be likely looking for pay increases. So how much we give them impacts how much we actually have to bring back those other positions.
Joe,
So these two options don't affect the quantity of these two options don't affect the overall number of the override. It just affects the divided up. So I think that if we kick the can down the road and there's $110,000-$15,000 for positions we need to add next year, we're doing the same thing we did this past year where we kicked $500,000 into it, and now we have to make up that 500. So I'm not in favor of kicking the can down the road by eliminating positions we need to fill the next year. So I'm in favor of this first option.
I have a question. I know we've talked about this before. I'm just sort of drawing a blank now about how we arrived at the 1.3 million for the override. Because I'm looking at this and it's like if the school can reduce their override to 960, why are we settled on it has to be 1.3?
No, we're giving them an extra 125 by
Mhm.
eliminating those two positions.
Right.
So we're just shifting the money from the town to
Yeah.
the school.
Yeah.
So if I eliminated those 2 positions for the second half of next year, that money would be still in the budget. We give it to the schools. They wouldn't have to raise it in the override, and then the number they'd need in the override would be 964.
That's why the total number hasn't changed,
yeah,
Tom.
no,
It's the same
no,
total
no.
number. It's just shifting money.
Yeah, no, that
But
makes sense. Yeah.
That's what we did last year. We shifted 500,000 of free cash to the school budget, and then what it does is it creates a huge void this year.
Yeah, no, that makes sense now. The other question was, I haven't seen anything from the school about, are they itemizing their override as well, like we've done here?
I'm not. I mean, they haven't been that other than the positions that they've already voted to eliminate, which is how they got their budget down. So they've made some moves, and they also reduced insurance. So they've already made moves to reduce that assessment down. Other than those positions, we recommended that they be transparent about it, but I'm not going to push it too hard because at the end of the day, school department gets a bottom line budget. Whatever amount of money you give them, the school committee and the finance director have the right to move money around during the course of the year and make changes based on whatever the expected need for educational purposes is. So they can present to us right now what their intention
we recommended,
is, but they can change it.
In the meeting we had last Thursday, 2 weeks ago, we recommended they come up with a list so people understand what the real pains are and what people have to give up. But Tom, I haven't seen anything from them on that. But we thought it would be, we recommended it, but it's up to them.
Yeah.
That only helps their cause. I mean, I would hope they would do that.
I would think so.
As far
but,
as identifying the pain of not proving an override. So,
Hey, Bill.
So Joe, what do you need from? I mean, yeah, go ahead, John.
Bill, as far back as November, we've asked them to start to package up their message on about $1 million override. So that request has been out there for a couple of months. So it's not a recent ask. So.
Right. I mean, they're looking at it as a whole package. Like this is the package rather than itemizing it. So it's like it's hard. Is it because they're giving us all the ads to the budget from last year, but obviously the ads add up to a lot more than $1 million because their budget went up by 3 million, right? So they're giving us the $3 million list of shopping list, but not the $1 million they have to give up if they didn't get the override. So, Rosemary and Ben, anything else in terms of if we need to vote on this tonight, what other concerns do you have or questions or comments do you have on this approach?
The only concern I have about the approach, I have a couple of comments and then maybe one minor concern. But first comment, last time, I think it was 3 weeks ago we met, we talked about we hadn't had an override, something like 8 or 9 years.
Longer than that, more than 15 years.
Which is amazing given what happened after, in the COVID years and then following and seeing inflation just absolutely going through the roof, and to have made it this far, the 2.5% is the number that the state gives you that allows you to work within that number, and not needing to exceed that for however many years it's been is just a real testament to improving efficiency every year, everywhere we can find it. So that's one comment. It also looked like the concept of getting rid of the recycling thing, that's gone away. I'm not sure if we had a conversation about it, but I mean, I'll just say, like, I'm happy for that. Like, I didn't feel great about so just telling people, yeah, we're not going to pick up recycling every week anymore. I think that kind of goes against what we've been trying to do on the environment front. So I'm happy to see it go away, but I just wanted to talk about it. The last thing, and then my area of concern was around calling it basic services. If you're new to town meeting, maybe you think that's like, oh, well, that's where everything always starts, right? I think really what it is, it's a reduced service, right? It's not a basic service. That I think there's some messaging there to clear it up for people who might be new to this process. I think it
makes sense. No, that makes sense. Yep, that's a valid point.
On the you deserve an update on the recycling. So, in preparation for the last meeting, we were kind of scrambling, trying to find ways to be creative and imaginative. We looked at the really large increase that's expected when we signed the new contract with Casella, and we kind of pulled it apart and looked at the cost of recycling collection and thought that might be an area we could save. We did say at the time that we were making a rough guess that if you went to every other week, we're showing half the cost, but it wasn't really equal to that. There's a number of different reasons for that. We had a long conversation with Casella about it. It winds up, instead of being, whatever we were showing, $300,000 in savings, it really winds up being more like $65,000 to $75,000 in savings. There's a lot of that goes into how they have to schedule trucks and staff and everything else. And their point was, if you go to every other week, Hamilton's had such a good track record with recycling. If they go to every other week, they have to anticipate the weeks that they are picking up, they're going to be longer. So their crews will be out longer those days because there's going to be more to pick up. So they did not recommend us taking that look at it. There's also some additional cost built into this contract because they're planning to provide new totes and things for the recycling, et cetera. So those things would still be there. They're getting new trucks to be able to make the route work faster, but those costs for the new barrels and stuff would still be there for them. So that said, when it was only $75,000, we said, well, that's really not worth it. The juice isn't worth the squeeze, especially for all the angst and anxiety it was going to cause. So we pivoted, and that's when we came up with the kind of second option down here.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That makes sense. Ben, to go back to your first point, I think it's interesting that you got to talk about the messaging of the override. Like, it's not a bad, it's a bad thing to have an override, but it's a good thing we've been able to fight it for this long, right? Because of the inflation. The interesting thing that we're looking at is that even though we're having an override, our tax rate might go down next year because of inflation, right? Houses are worth more money. So even though we're paying more in taxes, our tax rate is actually might go down. So unfortunately, tax rate and levy are inversely related, right? So if the houses are worth more money, the tax rate actually goes down to raise more money. So we haven't got that number yet, but it is possible. It has nothing to do with our tax rate. It has to do with the amount of money we're raising. So it's an interesting discussion that we're not actually raising the tax rate. We're just raising the tax levy.
Yeah, but it all
If that
comes
makes
out of the
sense.
pocket. It all comes out of the pocket of
Yeah,
citizens. Although their house is appreciated,
correct.
they're feeling it regardless of the tax rate.
Absolutely.
But if your house doesn't, right, if your house doesn't appreciate, then you don't feel as big as a burden as somebody else's house does. It's a weird
Right.
dichotomy.
But if you don't realize it, it doesn't mean much, right?
Right.
You live in
And
it.
what's in John McGrath, I don't know if you've done the math yet, but what's the at 1.3 million, what's that per average household? What's
Yeah, have
the
we done
equation
that?
we do
That's a
for
good
that?
question.
Yeah, I haven't done the math yet, but I don't
We
know.
need to do that math, Joe. I mean, I'm surprised we don't have that.
Well, I mean, okay, I appreciate that, but I mean, we didn't know what the math was going to be. I can't do the math till I know what number you want me to focus on.
Oh, we've had this
We'll be able to
1.3
get,
out there for a bit, right?
yeah. Well, once I know which direction you're going, we can break out what the override will mean to the average taxpayer. For the year
I don't
coming up.
understand your question. What do you mean direction? It's 1.3. It's whether or not we give more to the school or more to the town on the second warrant, right? It's 1.3.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, all right. We can break that up.
I think we need that. And as far as how we break it out, I mean, I don't want to I think it is what it is. I like the first one, as Bill said. That's the real like financial need for each entity, whether it's a school or the town. It was the first number I think was 260 for the town and a million something for the schools. That made sense to me.
Yeah.
I think Joey did a great job getting it in line with what our goals were without he was very creative, which I appreciate. And I just don't want to create any holes for us next year. And I think that this does not create many holes for us. It creates some things we're not able to do that we wanted to do this year, but maybe we can pay for it next year with what Bill was talking about with the additional savings of the transition. Maybe we make
Exactly.
more money off of that transition. Rosemary, what else? Rose, you've been quiet and listening, so I'm sure you got some comments. Any other questions or comments you have?
Yeah, I agree with Bill W. that I think the first recommended override with the 26981 town override and the 1.079 override for the schools. I think that's a fair and accurate analysis of the needs of both parties, and I think the town has really. Joe and Wendy have done a really good job of cutting things to the bone. And I think Joe's own comments that everybody needs to find a way to live within their budget. And I think by doing the additional cuts of the town for the benefit of the schools just seems to me that we're walking back our commitment to the town. We are representing the town. We certainly appreciate the position of the schools, but they have to make their own decisions. And so I agree with Bill Wilson that if we do choose the second article, that this one, the first one, the town recommended override, should be what we go with.
I think you're muted.
Am I still there?
You're
No,
there.
sorry.
Bill's
Sorry, I
muted.
muted. Sorry. So, John, I have a question for John McGrath. So, John, we're supposed to vote on this tonight. On which direction we want to go in. Is there any reason why we should not vote tonight and wait for FinCom to look at it, or are you good with us moving forward with a vote on this approach tonight?
Yeah, I mean, FinCom has reviewed this budget across two meetings. We're going to vote on it on Wednesday, actually. So we needed the final numbers, but we've been projecting a $1.5 million override for a couple of months, and we've been through it multiple times. So I feel comfortable with it, and I feel comfortable with the rationale bringing it to the town. So I think the key indicator of how healthy financially the town is really the interest rate on the bonds, and that is a single key performance indicator of how financially prudent this town is and how well done the financials are. And the fact that we've gone 15, 18 years without an override speaks to the quality of the management. So I feel very comfortable bringing the story forward, using the levy limit for the flat budget and then the override. So, and we've been through these numbers multiple times at FinCom, and we'll vote formally on it on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Does everybody else feel comfortable voting on this right now?
And Bill, it's probably about 55, 58 cents
Per
on the
thousand.
tax rate. Okay. So we'll do that final
Yeah,
calculation.
and we should layer that with the roof, the debt exclusion, and we got to lay this out for the next 5 years, right? With everything else that's coming our way. I think we should talk about that at town meeting.
Mm.
So, Wendy since John threw out 55 cents, I'll just say that I was going to wait and make sure we double checked our numbers because I wanted to make sure we were perfect. But rough math, Wendy's thinking it's about $450 increase annually on the average tax bill across the town. So
All right, that's helpful. And what's that?
times a year? So you're talking about like $112, $113 a quarter for the average tax bill.
So $450 a year on a 800,000 or house average.
Yes, about 816, I believe.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So Joe, what does the motion need to? How do I need to state the motion here?
You guys can use your words, but I'd say, a motion to approve a request for a $1.340505 million override with a $260,981 town override and a $1,079,524 override for the Hamilton Wenham Regional School District.
Someone want to move that?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion or questions? Anybody on the Zoom call have any questions or comments? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Rosemary Kennedy.
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Tom Myers.
Tom Myers, aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Bill Wilson, aye.
And Ben Galuzzo.
Ben Galuzzo, aye.
And William Wilson, aye. So yeah, I think it's some hard decisions. I think hard work we got there, and we just got to get the school now to align with it. But I think we have a plan moving forward. Joe, can you update us on the schedule for the vote? Because obviously it has to pass in both towns in order to, but when is Wenham voting? When are we voting?
So the election day isn't going to change from what I understand. The town of Wenham, because they were not sure that the Bucher would be big enough to handle the annual town meeting this year, wanted to move their annual town meeting to Gordon College. Gordon College was not available on April 11th, so the select board voted last night to have their town meeting on April 9th. We'll have our town meeting on April 11th, and then both towns' elections should still be 5 days after ours, so April 16th or whatever it is, Thursday night. Thursday?
Yeah.
Thursday 16th, yeah.
Okay.
And so the override will have to pass at both town meetings and at the ballot box. But it's a 50% majority vote, so.
All right, thank you. All right, next topic. Review proposed warrant articles for annual town meeting, including sale, patent, homestead, gun club, lease renewals, specialized stretch code, prudent investment rule we talked about, operating override and debt exclusion discussion, and possible vote tonight. So I asked Tom and Tim Ford to attend the meeting, but I have to, and it looks like they're on. And so, Joe, is anybody else talking in any other subjects? But I was going to go right to them and kind of go out of order a little bit.
Yeah, I know that you invited them, so you should go to them first. But just so you know, representatives of the Hamilton One and Rod and Gun Club and the Miles River Marsh Rats are here, as well
Okay.
as you know, members of the the Friends of the Patton Homestead, and the Hamilton Environmental Impact Committee. So we've got a lot of opportunity for a lot of people to talk besides me. I'm going to turn off my mic.
So Tom and Tim and Heather, thank you for joining. We asked you to sort of join because we've been having some discussions with our Environmental Impact Committee on adopting sort of the second tier of the stretch code, which really affects new builds in Hamilton, but it allows us to get more state funding, up to $1 million worth of grants for public properties for energy upgrades to those properties if we choose to select and upgrade those facilities. But we didn't want to vote through something on the town warrant that would become a big burden for somebody trying to build a new house in town or upgrade their house. And so we're being told that there's some solar impacts to a 4,000 square foot house. You have to put solar and other. So my question for you guys is, I don't know how familiar you are with this, and sort of what you see the impacts on a builder wanting to come to Hamilton work, and if you think it's going to negatively impact development in town in a good way or a bad way. Just get your thoughts on it. So I'll open it up to Tom and Tim to sort of ask questions, give their opinion, but thank you for joining.
I'm gonna let my brother go first, because although
Thanks a lot.
he's still doing some development, but he's intimately familiar with the stretch code and has been subject to that. My understanding is there's 50 communities that have accepted the super stretch code. And out of the 350 of us. So I'm glad you're considering it, but you would be on the front wave of communities to have accepted it. I think Beverly and Salem are the ones local that have accepted it. Tim?
That's correct. Yeah, I'm at something.
Yeah, I have some recent experience with the super stretch code, for lack of another term. If you adopt the super stretch code, you're going to be looking at 400 amp electric services to these houses. So a 400 amp service, as opposed to a 200 amp service, will add on average about $10,000 to $12,000 per house. The 400 amp service is not commonplace. I'm thinking, I don't know, how many starts do we have in Hamilton One, new starts? Maybe 3 or 4 a year? I wouldn't think it's much more than that. Part of the problem, I just finished one in Winchester. I finished one in
Five, I
Winchester.
think 5 a year on average. Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
Of new homes. I just finished one in Winchester a couple of months ago, and that was under the super stretch code. And I just got a call in the last week or so about their electric bill. And their electric bill in that house, they moved in October, and for the month of January, they got an electrical bill for $4,200 from Eversource. So, of course, they're going through the roof over that. We didn't have options. They had adopted the code, so we did. It is an all-electric home. My experience with it is I've also had one experience down in Manchester as well. They haven't adopted it, but they were going to adopt it. So I started this house. I ran a 400 amp service into the house. I also had to pay National Grid. I think it was about $8,500 to upgrade the line between 2 transformers. So it's fairly expensive, with only 5 starts here. The other thing that they're experiencing in Winchester actually only has probably 5 or 6 new starts a year, believe it or not. But they have a lot of bigger projects coming online, which they're forcing all electric. So National Grid is having problem providing, Eversource in that case, is having problem providing ample power. And I think that's going to be the same case here in National Grid. I don't know if anybody spoke with National Grid about that. At 5 starts per year, but if you get a big project in town, so if you get a 3A project or a big 40B, or something happens over at Penguin Hall in Wenham, it's going to be very costly to upgrade the electric coming into that site. With a single family residential house, I would say the uptick is about $10,000 or $12,000.
What about the solar aspect of it?
We are getting houses solar ready. So under the existing stretch energy code, houses are solar energy. So we're piping up towards the roof line so that panels can be added without sort of having to take down ceilings and whatever. but we're not putting solar panels on at this point. Solar has kind of fallen out of favor. I mean, it seems to me that, when we're building new houses 8 years ago, 6 years ago, people were talking about solar on a regular basis. They were also talking about geothermal. Both those options have kind of fallen out of favor in my mind. I've seen the Stretch Energy Code is actually been a good piece of legislation, and the houses are certainly much more efficient. And the amount of thought, so the amount of engineering thought that goes into these in advance, and also during construction, and the quality control for all of the insulating aspects is way up. And I think that's all good. That's money well spent. The next step with this energy code, I'm not quite sure we're there yet, to be honest. And I think it does place another burden on new home construction, which is the price of new home construction is crazy. And so when we talk, it's interesting to me because I've been listening to the budget talk, and I think of these new homes that I'm building here in Hamilton and Wenham. I mean, those tax bills, everybody's paying $40,000 and requiring very few town services. And so when we talk about where revenue is for the town going forward, I mean, not everybody's in favor of this, but I think the best source of revenue going forward is creating these sort of bigger homes on smaller lots. And I think that's what we've got. I mean, I know not everybody's in agreement with that, but it seems to me that, the numbers aren't lying there. We talked about the average price of an existing home being at 800,000. These new homes are 2.5 million.
And from what I've read, the motivation behind the super stretch code is just to fall in line with the Commonwealth's objective to be net zero by 2050.
Right.
Strikes me as we have some considerable amount of time to let the bugs work out. For a while that we all thought we were all going to be driving all electric, and now both Ford and GM have cut way back on what they're going to produce on that because there is no demand. So I don't know the urgency of matching the Commonwealth's objective of 2050 net zero. I think we could let a few more entities experiment with the super stretch and see where it shakes out. I don't believe that some of the work that's being done now by Tim and others to make all these garages EV ready is reasonable.
Right.
That's part of the stretch code, though. So whether you adopt this stretch code or not,
it's going to happen.
That will continue.
I mean, part of the urgency for us, and I would say for the climate community, obviously we've tasked them with the Hamilton being a sustainability and climate leader, right? Leading from the front. So that's what we've tasked them with. Obviously, there's money that we could get from the state for grants, but not a lot of commitment on the public side for public funding. It's more on the residential side. So it doesn't put a lot of burden on the town. It puts it on obviously the new homeowner. So, and if we had a project in line, we would potentially lose grant funding to fund those projects. I'm not sure if we have that list to go. And I know that my screen just jumped around here, but I know we have our Emmett on to sort of comment on this stuff. So that's kind of the urgency is like, are we giving up sort of grant money by not approving this? And let me just remind everybody, right? The concept of today's meeting and Monday's meeting is to decide if we put it on the warrant, right? We're not voting as a group on whether we agree with it or not. We're voting on whether or not we think we should put it in front of the town to vote on it. So we have to make sure that we don't want to put stuff on the town warrant just to put it on the town warrant. We want to make sure that it meets, it has consensus, meets the goals of the town, and would get a favorable vote. So that's kind of what we're debating about. Not whether we agree with it, we're going to vote for it, but whether or not we want to put it on the warrant. So just to frame that conversation.
To frame our inputs, we don't do starter housing. So a $15,000 adder to a $2.5 million house is not likely to preclude someone from going ahead. So maybe it does make sense to.
Would it affect additions and ADUs, for instance?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that would be a concern because there's still a lot of homes in Hamilton, Wenham, especially in the downtown area, that have 100 amp services, but anything built post probably 75 has a 200 amp service. But If you acquired an ADU, which say maybe 1,000 square feet, all of a sudden you may be taking those existing 200 amp services and having to upgrade them to a 400 amp service, which would be a significant add-on to these bigger homes that I'm doing. It's an issue, but it's not significant in all honesty. But for the, I was talking with the admin person at the building department this week, and she said she had 20 applications for ADUs. And so if they had to be all electric, I think that would be a consideration.
So just to update the format here tonight, right? So we asked Tom and Tim to speak to a specific topic.
Clarify one thing, though.
We have people just real quick. Just want to do the format here real quick and let you speak. Right. And then we've got a couple people raising their hands. So we'll definitely do public comment. So I wanted Tom and Tim to speak. I wanted Emmett to be able to respond, and I wanted obviously all the select board members to ask questions and stuff. So I'll turn it over now to the rest of the board to ask Tom and Tim questions, and then we can go to our climate committee, to go to Emmett, and then we can have public comment if that makes sense. So go ahead, Ben.
So there's my understanding is that there's not a prescriptive requirement to go to a 400 amp in the specialized code. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep, right.
Based on what you think the market wants or how the home is being electrified, whether it's with electric boilers and or heat pumps or a combination of that, or how many EVs you think a potential buyer might want, that starts to lead you towards a 400 amp or 200 amp services in many of the cases for homes 4,000 square feet and up. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right on.
Yeah. I think it's worth noting, I'm pretty sure, and someone can fact check me on this, but that our ADUs, they're capped at 900 square feet. And those are, in most cases, and I don't know what's coming through in terms of whether they're attached or detached, but my understanding is that the detached ADUs are not subject to these requirements that the Climate Leaders Program brings in because of their size. If they're attached to the home, that's different, and that then starts to get into some pretty funky math on the size of the existing home. So I just wanted to clear that up based on the research I've done so far, and I wanted to get your guys' input on the AMP service. I might have some other questions, but that clarifies it for me. So I appreciate you guys.
I'd be curious of those 20 applications, that are they attached or not, or like what's the likelihood of, because it sounds like it's a big difference in cost, right? Attached or not.
Well, I think the research I did, Bill, I'll speak for myself because I don't know if we have anybody from the town here, but number one, if you're expanding the size of your home by either doubling it in size or increasing it by 1,000 square feet or more, you could become subject to these new requirements. So if you have already, let's say you have a 2,500 square foot home, and then you added an attached ADU at 900 square feet, which is what we potentially allow. This is where the planning department would be pretty handy. That you would not be subject. So if you've got a 3,000 square foot home, you attach a 900 square foot ADU, you're not subject to this new requirement. If you exceed 1,000 square feet, or if you double the size of your home, you could become subject to this new requirement around achieving air tightness in particular. Less so a concern actually about whether you need to go from 200 to 400 amps, which is performance based, it's not prescriptive based. The real issue there is around air tightness, as Tom and Tim were talking about. Trying to do that in an existing context is problematic. I think it really mostly is going to apply in a context if somebody happens to have a 1,000 square foot home, they also happen to want to, or actually they have to have a 900 square foot home, and then they would want to attach a 900 square foot ADU to it. That's what our current bylaws would allow, which then it could become subject to this. But that seems like it's a pretty small edge case to me. So just
Emmett's on the call here. So Emmett, you can unmute and speak to some of the stuff. You have the facts and figures, but anything you want to comment on what Ben just said?
Yeah. Well, the ADU thing, if it's an extension of existing house, I don't think there is a requirement, but we haven't really looked at that much. I think one of the key things, though, is the 400 amp service is not specified for anything. The goal of what they're trying to accomplish with this stretch code is to do the pre-wiring. So with new construction, you don't have to rip apart all the walls to rerun the wiring. So that's the key thing there. And I mean, you talk about running the wiring for the EV in the garage and all that. We've all had, a lot of us on this call have had to do that. But the 400 amp service isn't required. You need to wire to the roof to get the solar. There is a certain requirement now that's been added to put solar on this. But you don't, the other thing is it's not required to be an all electric house. You can still have gas, you can have all that other stuff. You just have to wire so that you can put in the heat pumps and all that kind of stuff. So you have to wire for an all electric house, but you don't have to build an all electric house. That's kind of the key thing.
Okay.
Last thing I want to say,
At 4,000 feet, I think it changes. At 4,000 feet, I think it has to be all electric.
no, it doesn't have to be all electric. It has to have some solar though. There's a certain amount of solar required on all of the new construction for this now. Yes, there is. Under 4,000 and above 4,000. So there's above 4,000, you have to have enough solar to meet the solar needs of the house, but you could still have a gas house. So you don't have to have the solar for heat pumps and all that kind of stuff. The only
Yeah,
other
sounds like we need to fact check that a little bit because there's a difference of opinion here, but we'll fact check that. But
that's why we'll have a
I want to
hearing.
get to the rest of the board though to ask questions. So
that I just really wanted to bring my understanding is that the Wenham Select Board has already voted to, go forward and put this on their warrant. So we're trying to be in coordination with them to at least give the voters the opportunity to decide. Because again, the great advantage here from a town tax, you were just talking about the override for taxes, is that if we put solar on the high school and middle school roof, that's like $300,000 a year in annual costs that the town can cut out of their budget for the schools. So there's, you're not adding a whole lot with 5 new houses a year having to do this. That's the only effect it's going to have. And the flip side is if the two towns can get together, agree to vote, get $2 million worth of grant funding, the school's getting the new roof. That's what the override's for. We can go ahead and in the following year, try to put some solar on it and really start saving some money.
no, thank you. I mean, the plan and the pathway makes sense. We just got to make sure it makes sense for the town. But I want to go to the rest of the board. So Ben, any other questions for Tom and Tim?
No, it's great. Thank you.
Tom Myers, any questions for Tom or Tim?
No additional questions.
Rosemary?
Yes. I've been doing concerted research on this issue over the last several days, and I think the most important thing that I've discovered, and as we can see in this discussion tonight, is it's a very convoluted new law, the specialized stretch code. There are many requirements, and if one looks at the regs, which I did as carefully as I could, not being a technical person, the reality is that the state has their own certified passive housing inspector who is certified from 40,000 courses to decide if you're certified and if you're in compliance with all these new requirements. So it doesn't surprise me that we all have a different opinion about what it means. But what I've been able to glean from this is that if we are now in the stretch code, which I think is a wonderful code, we have been able to make a lot of improvements in our green energy goals, and I totally support that. However, when we talk about the specialized code, I think we need to go into this for the right reasons. And two important things I want to bring up before I bring up specifics generally is that this code will be enforced by the town building inspector, so say the regulations. And Rich Maloney, who is our building instructor, is not in favor of this. There's no unification in this rule. If we ask the town voters to vote this specialized code in, we have to agree to every upgrade, every amendment that comes along in the future. And that worries me because we don't know where this is going. The second thing I wanted to say is Vicki Masson. I've been in touch with Vicki Masson, and the reality is about any grant that would be applicable to the school's solar panels, the new roof, should the town decide to vote for that, the debt exclusion, it will be wired for solar panels. Vicki has disclosed that this is not a done deal, that one would have to apply for this grant much as we would have to apply for any other grant. So I don't think we should be making the assumption that Hamilton Wenham would be the entity who is awarded this $1 million grant. So, and Vicki did also say that there are other ways we could go about getting solar panels on the school roof. I think it's a very good idea. I think we need to look at the whole picture. There's another partnership that she has been involved with, and she said it might not be quite as lucrative as if we own the panels, the solar panels ourselves, but there would be a way to get a very reduced cost to get the solar panels. And obviously, we would need to speak to Vicki about the particulars of that. So those are just sort of the facts that are indisputable. I think that one of the important things that we have not discussed very much is the cost of electricity. There's one particular resident in town, I won't name her or her address, but he did all the right things, got the heat pump and has all this high efficiency equipment in his house. And even with all that, his electricity bill was $620 for the month of December. And so I think the reality is for the state to say that we want to use all electric utilities in the houses, has anybody taken into consideration the cost of electricity? And I don't think that we have. We have spent so much time thinking about an aspirational goal to become carbon neutral by the year 2050. I don't disagree with the goal. I disagree that this is the right time to do it because electricity costs are so high, because we have a finite and likely finite ability to expand our electrical grid. And as it is, our electrical grid, 2/3 of it comes from natural gas anyhow. So I think what we're doing is putting the cart before the horse. I'm very pleased that the Ford brothers came on and talked to us about real life experiences, because aspirational goals don't always translate into present practical goals. And I think we should consider that strongly as a perhaps a barrier to wondering if this is really the right time to do this. Not that it isn't a good goal, but is this the right time to do it? And we have to feel comfortable that this is something we're asking our residents to vote on. And if we don't have enough information about it, if there needs to be a special certified person to be able to decide if you're compliant with all these gazillion new rules, and if our building inspector is saying this is not a good decision, then I gotta say, I don't think it's a good decision.
Thank you, Rosie. Did you talk to Rich?
I have talked to Rich, yes, and
Okay.
his opinion has not changed on this at all. He does not agree with this. They're just, one of the things that Rich and I talked about were, let's see how it plays out with some other communities. I know there was a community, I think it may have been Essex, who actually voted in and then voted it out because it was so onerous on the residents. And so I'm not sure if it's Ipswich or Essex. My memory wants to say Essex. But I think we need to think carefully about what we're doing.
Is this me or is everybody not hearing Rosie?
No,
Yeah,
I
Rosie, all of a
could
sudden you dropped off.
Yeah, I
You
could
were
hear
talking
you.
and now you dropped off.
Yeah, Rosie,
More than my
We
share.
You're
couldn't
back.
hear you, Rosie.
You're
Oh,
back.
We lost you for like the last 30
Lost you
seconds.
30 seconds.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
No, good points, and thank you for doing the research. I'm just gonna go to Bill Wilson, then we'll go sort of circle back to public comment.
Yeah, I just worry if I mean, I love the idea but are we chasing a title and a label and we're ahead of our skis? I've heard about 400 amp service. I heard it tonight about, 10 to 12K increase, but then I heard a counter argument that said, no, you just got to pre-wire for EV, for roof. I don't know what that costs, like I don't know enough about the cost benefit analysis, for the town versus are we transferring that cost to our citizens? So I worry a little bit about, making a premature, decision on something that, 50 communities have. I think that's great, but there's a lot that haven't. I worry about what grant money is going to be available in this political environment. And, are we just running too fast? Should we do a wait and see and make an informed decision down the road? Or do we go ahead? But I still honestly don't understand, like what the cost of, an 80 unit will be. Yeah, we argued, no, it's only 900. Is it attached? Is it not? I don't feel like I have enough information to make an informed decision. Other than saying, I want to go there, I want to be there, but I don't want to just say yes because I want to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have an environmental impact committee. We support them. We ask them to do certain things for us. They've done those things. They've done their homework.
Yep.
So I want to give them credit for doing their homework and coming to us with what we've asked them to do. So I don't want this to be a public sort of representation of what we've asked them to do. I think it's just more about where the code is at, not necessarily where our committees at, to make sure it's clear, concise code. So I just want to give Emmett and Jean that sort of comment that don't think this is about our committee. It's about sort of, are we ready for, is the state ready for this code to be implemented, and how would it impact us to implement it? So I want to go to public comment and then we can circle back. But David has been raising his hand patiently. So I'll go to David, Parent Chief.
Evening, everybody. I'm also here for the Hamilton Wine and Ron Gun Club, but I'm also a resident of the town. Just to help with Tom and Tim's mention, there's things you guys have to know about the EV. I follow cars and tech heavily. Right now, EVs are in big trouble because their tires are running at a 50% higher rate of degradation. So they're causing a higher pollution rate along the roads and riverways around areas. So there's a push for them to have to redo their tires. The market on resellable EVs is really bad. So they're now having trouble with overstock on EVs. So they're trying to figure out what to do with those. There's the loss in value of the electric vehicles. I know Toyota and a few other cars in Japan, they've completely abandoned 100% electric vehicles. They're switching over to a hybrid system. So all these things are going to trickle, as Tom and Tim said. The GM and all the major car manufacturers in the United States have pretty much abandoned 100% electric because of the weight of the cars. The torque of a 100% electric drive is also tearing tires and causing more issues. So these are all things that are going to come down the line in the manufacturing space, which will then start to change how everyone's going to look at, forward progress and what you're going to have to put in for voltage and amperage for houses. Then you also have the other side part where, we're all still waiting on the audit release that's going through Beacon Hill right now, so we don't know what's going on with that. And then you also have to look at the fact that now there's a larger push for nuclear that's being gone out to, like, New Hampshire's looking to do a nuclear plant, so now you have that. Japan and has also created small, almost like 18-wheeler size nuclear reactors that they can put in the back of trucks. So there's also talk about that. The U.S. also just loaded one up on a C-130. So there's a massive energy shift coming. A lot of this is in Popular Mechanics, Popular Science, Energy Magazine. So to support what you're saying is, yeah, cart before the horse. Rosie's right. Like, there's a lot of tech changing very quickly right now due to the energy crisis and the need to, and also the AI boom. So that's forcing a lot of regulation changes. So a lot coming down the pipe on that. That's my 2 cents for you guys to think about in terms of what you've been discussing on this subject.
Thank you. Jeffrey, also, you had your hand raised at one point, but I don't see it now. Did you mean to put your hand down, or you wanted to say something?
Thanks for bringing me back in. Jeff Alsop on 11 Blackbrook Road and also 587 Bay Road, the post office. My initial comment was that we're green builders. We do a lot of building science, and to the 200 amp to 400 amp, we don't see any need for 400 amps in our custom big homes, kind of like the Fords. We can do it all in 200 amps, including the EV chargers, and we have all electric buildings out there. So from the standpoint of being forced into a requirement like that, it's counterintuitive to my mind. I just also want to confirm Rosie's conversation with Rich. I've had multiple conversations with Rich about this while he's inspecting our projects, or we're just chewing the fat on where things are going. So I don't think it should be on the warrant. I am a taxpayer in a lot of different ways in town, and am very committed to the health and well-being of our town. So I don't think this is an appropriate time.
Thank you. Jean?
Hi. Vicky Mazzoni sends her apologies for not being able to come tonight. Her family member has been ill for quite a while. From my discussions with her, where she meets with our HEIC every month, she's 100% for the specialized code and for us applying to become climate leaders. So there's no question in my mind that she's for this. But your comment about Rich, the building inspector, I'm sure is correct. But I was present at a meeting in Wenham and heard him say to the folks there, the town hall, I will do whatever the voters vote. He's the inspector, he has his own opinion, but he's going to follow through with what is required. So a couple of things I did want to remind you of: our Hamilton Climate Resolution of 2022 to become a net zero community by 2040. One of the very positive things about the specialized code, which according to Dylan Patel is just like, here's your stretch code, and it's just a little bump up. It sounds like a lot, but there's already a lot of requirements that we're doing already. That it does require multifamily houses to become passive homes. Now, we're, with the technical term of that, but we have that in Willow Flats. The chargers, the electric, the solar, everything is already there. So I don't know if anyone's familiar with these folks. Causeway Development, Traygorth Companies, and construction by HAYCON, Hayson Inc. But it can be done. And we also know that the Harbor Light Homes, that they're building the 45 unit down on, as for Asbury Common, they're very much into passive home building as well too. So as we look forward and think about more multifamily homes coming to Hamilton in the future, we definitely want them to be passive homes. I would say at this point, all homes should be passive. We shouldn't even be including fossil fuels. Personally, that's what I think. I might have said that sometimes you want to have a stop and say, okay, let's refigure this. But the specialized code does not ask for an all electric home. It asks it to become a possibility of all electric, but you can still include the fossil fuels at this point. And Rosie, about $500 for electricity, if that's covering all your heat and all your needs and cooking, I think that's pretty reasonable. Or 600, it would be easy to have a gas bill of 500 or 600 or more. So plus then you have your electricity, and you probably all know that heat pumps, you get a little bit reduced electrical rate if you have heat pumps in your home. So I just want to say there are issues, concerns. Dylan Patel tried to present all this to the select board with the slides, and it's hard to keep track of everything. And I just want to say one last thing about the solar being required for 4,000 square feet or more. If you have trees, then it's not, they're not going to make you cut the trees down. Although I see new builds, they often usually are cutting all the trees down, unfortunately. So I think the mindset, I think that we are on the road to becoming net zero by 2040. We've made a lot of headway. There is timing to this, to have it passed, first to put on the warrant, then to have it passed by the residents. Then we apply on June 30th to become a climate leader. And then we would have to wait till February 2027 to apply for the $1 million grant. But they have also assured us that the money will last through 2027. After that, we can't say, but that's my opinion. I would very much like to have this on the warrant so that the residents can decide for themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more? I'm going to close public. I think there's no more public comment, so we'll close. Anybody else wants to go? Then I'm going to close the public comment section and go back to the board. And thank everybody for their input. And I know, Ben, as you raise your hand, just want to comment on it. I think we'll go around the room here, but and there's another question. Ben, do you have a question? Okay, go ahead.
A question for Jeff, I think it was. He says green home builder.
Yeah, Jeff.
Yes.
Yeah, Jeff. Yeah.
And so, are you doing passive house construction as well? Is that
not technically passive? There's, as Rosie had said, there's a lot of certifications involved with being designated passive. But I'll give you an example. The middle building behind the post office is a new build. It's about 4,500 square feet. It's commercial. We have about 12 occupants, lots of computers, lots of lighting. It's 100% electric. And the largest bill that we have monthly has been $450, whether heated by electric or cooled by electric. So, yes, I am in the historic district. I did want to put solar panels on it. I got turned down. Another one of our buildings has solar panels. I'm not opposed at all to solar. Had we had solar panels on that building, it would be net zero. So no fossil fuels. So, it really can be done. It's an attitude and it's a desire. When I market our office spaces to people and tell them that their share of $450 for all utilities is peanuts. It makes it marketable. So it's a very positive thing.
I was wondering about kind of like one of the concepts that I understand about passive house was sort of as well, if you have power outages or things like that they stay warmer longer. And I was wondering if maybe any of the developers had heard anything from their customers on that end on the new builds of those performing better in outages. We had a pretty good sized one here on Monday, but I was looking for a little feedback on that, if anybody's seen any additional benefits from it.
Well, the problem with Hamilton's larger housing stock, and the Fords know this, and the comment for multifamily housing, I agree with too. If you're going to build new, insulate right, insulate tight, and ventilate right. That's sort of the mantra. So yeah, if you're insulated properly, you don't have to. You're going to be tighter and warmer and more efficient. So yeah, there's good things. But we're already doing that with the stretch code.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay. I think we'll go around one more time with select board and then decide how we're going to move on. But I just wanted, my comments obviously are support what we tasked the climate committee to do. We voted at town meeting to adopt some goals. I am caught because although I agree the code seems to have some clarity issues as well as future proofing it with the fact that once we adopt the code, we don't get to approve it in the future with a change other than vote it down at a meeting in the future. But I also don't like being an obstacle to the town voting on what they think they might want to do, right? And so is it our job to bring it to the town with as much information as we can to let the town vote on it versus us decide as a group of 5 that the town shouldn't vote on something that we've asked our climate committee to put together. So I guess where I'm at right now with this, and I'm not ready to vote on it tonight, but I think what I would like to see is a one-page, in my opinion, one-page fact sheet, because I still think there's some clarity issues. So I don't know if it's possible by next Monday to put together a one-page fact sheet of all the things we talked about tonight to get some clarity on some of the things that sound like we're of different opinion or not quite sure of the right answer. So like a one-page, I know you put together a nice slide deck, but I think there's some questions that came up tonight. So in my opinion, I'm not ready to vote tonight. I'd like to see a one-page fact sheet for next week, and we could take it up again. But I will follow the will of the board, and there's 4 other people that have an opinion. So I'll go to Rosie next.
I think the overarching principle here is that people can opt to go all green and all passive energy, and they should be able to do that. But I think that the cost for the whole town to be subjected to it and all future amendments is quite a daunting thing. And like I said, I'm not a tech person, but trying to understand this specialized code is like reading it in a foreign language. And there are special people who are trained within the state to understand this. And so I again think it's a laudable goal. I think that people certainly have the right to do with their property what they want, but I don't think we should force people into something that perhaps has a lot of changes coming down the pike.
Makes sense. Bill Wilson, you ready to vote on it tonight or not vote on it, or what's your thought? You're on mute. Sorry, Bill.
Yeah, I think Monday's a good night. I think I'd love to see that one pager. I want to also add in the first vehicle policy, and I'd like to hear more from the building inspector. I know a lot of folks have talked to him. I've heard nothing, from his input on this. So I'd like that to hear about his input as well. I love the idea of it. So, but I just don't want to get ahead of my skis, and I still can't. It's about cost benefit analysis for me. Like, we got a $10.2 million roof replacement coming from the schools, right? There's grant money on that. What's the grant opportunity we forego by not making a decision this year versus next? Do we know that?
Well, we don't know if we would be awarded a grant. It would
But even what we're eligible to apply for, like we've gotten grants in the past, right? So like what doors open for what grants don't open if we don't do this?
I think that the short answer to that, Bill, is that the $10.4 million roof project is going forward without any grants. There's a grant from the state, from the MSBA, that's going to pay whatever percent of the $4 million of the 10 million, and then the towns are going to have to do a debt exclusion to pay for the roof. The question is, can you add solar to the roof afterwards? The HEIC is proposing that you could apply for up to $2 million of grants, $1 million from Hamilton, $1 million from Wenham, to put solar on that new roof after the fact. But that won't stop. Doing this or not doing this won't change the trajectory of the new roof. It just changes whether or not you add solar and when.
Well, it'll
And
be solar, it'll be solar ready, Joe, as part of the,
right,
as part of
They're
the.
going to pre-wire it and do
They-
everything.
right, they're gonna pre-wire, and then the HEIC's concern is that what they're being told by the state is that after 2027, there's no guarantee that the state's going to have this fund for climate leaders anymore because of what's going on at the federal government and other changes in the energy environment. And they're just proposing, the legislature just proposed a new whole new energy legislation, whole new set of energy legislation. So I'm not sure how this gets treated in that. I think that's a cause for concern. I wanted to ask Jeannie, and she may not know, but when they say 2027, do you know if they're speaking about fiscal 2027 or calendar year 2027?
I do not know that, but that's a great question.
If it's fiscal 2027, the board could always take this up. If the board doesn't put this on the warrant now, you could always do it at the special, still get it in, and maybe have time to apply, because we're not even allowed to apply till next year anyway, Jeannie, right?
It's
for
likely
the money,
fiscal.
right.
It's likely fiscal 27. Those grant programs generally run fiscal.
Yeah. So probably fiscal 27, but we're not even allowed to apply until later this year anyway.
Right.
And Bill, on the cost, and the Bill Wilson, sorry, on the cost benefit analysis, Bill Wilson, that we were talking about, like we want to know what it saves the school in electricity, which would lower their budget, right? So that's kind of the overreaching thing is, do we get a free $2 million package that saves the school $200,000 a year in electrical costs? That's sort of the cost benefit you're looking for that we need.
Yeah,
to
so we
evaluate.
could, but does that require a vote in April to get that 200, or is it when later we go and put solar panels on there and one year from now, or whenever the
Right.
project's complete? Are we committing now for something that happens later where we could, I don't know, see how this develops? So anyway, I think I need the one pager. And Joe, on the vehicles, I mean, I know we've heard that it's a first policy, meaning you don't have to, but do you foresee a future where the fleet of vehicles for the town is, primarily electric versus gas?
No.
Not in the short term, probably not in the next 5 years. The fact of the matter is the technology, particularly for our heavier equipment, isn't there.
So we talked about weight, we talked about battery. So like we would be saying yes to that, but knowing we probably would not do it.
Right.
Right.
We wouldn't be able to. There's a limited number of vehicles that we'd actually be able to buy, and we've had mixed success even with some of the vehicles we did buy. I'm interested to see how the schools do over the course of the next 2 or 3 years with the electrical buses that they just bought, because they got those all paid for with the grant. They're managing that. I want to see how that program runs, because those are bigger vehicles, and I want to see what the wear and tear is, how soon they have to replace them, if it's worth the investment. The tech isn't there yet, as far as I've been able to determine.
But as a community, we got the benefit of grants for electric buses without this.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it. I'm glad that they did it.
I'm glad they did it, but I'm just saying we didn't need this. We didn't need
Bill
this
says
categorization
Bill
to
says,
get it.
yeah, we got the grants without this, right? So
I'm trying to know. I'm trying to understand the difference of what we can get, versus how we are today and available to us versus having that designation.
Well, Vicky has said to me in an email that there are other ways to get solar panels on the roof through different programs. She didn't go into exact detail, but I could forward a copy of her email.
And it's just really the difference. And Bill, you've said this too. It's like, are we transferring costs to our citizens for the realization, of grant money that I still don't understand the difference, that the town might realize.
Rosie, could you send that to me, and I'll share with the full board?
Sure.
I mean,
I'll
right.
send that.
Right, but I mean, I think Tim and Tom said it best. It's a $2 million house. They're not going to not build it because there's next to $12,000 in electrical costs. So it's not going to stop that type of home builder, but it's still a cost that we're putting on the on somebody trying to move to Hamilton and be part of our community. Ben, any other questions, comments? You want to put it off till Monday?
Yeah, I think the fact sheet will help us out. Your last comment there, Bill, I couldn't agree more. It's like the folks who are most impacted by it are in the, $2 million home range. And I'm not seeing this hitting our average everyday citizen based on everything that we've discussed so far. I think the potential for the grants is large. I think we've been very successful at getting grants in the past as well. We have a really good track record of that, as well as using them for deferred maintenance projects, so things that we had to do anyway. So it's like I look at our track record, it's like we've been really good at getting that money. And that's, I think, worth its weight in gold to our citizens. So, I'll tell you where I'm leaning is towards like, this makes more financial sense to have it as an option. And like kind of the hedge against it would be that we have to have a special town meeting to repeal it if the state changes something and all of a sudden it becomes an actual cost to our everyday citizen. So I'm kind of like looking at it in that sense of like, what's the upside potential? We've been really good at getting those dollars, and then like, how would we hedge against if it kind of, went the way that is being expressed here of they start piling in other requirements that make it a concern for the everyday homeowner. So that's kind of my take. I look forward to the one pager. Thanks, Bill.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify something that indeed it's not just people who are looking at $2 million homes. We must not gloss over the fact that chapter 22 includes additions to homes or renovations that are 1,000 square feet or more. So we are talking about average people. I had a renovation addition on my house, which probably added up to close to 1,000 square feet, and being required to do all the things, all the onerous things would, in this day and age, put it beyond my capacity to do a renovation like that. So I don't think we should gloss over the reality.
Let's have that on the fact sheet so I understand exactly what's required for that. And Joe, if you could have Rich at the next meeting and maybe have him have some stats on how many 1,000 square foot additions we permit over the course of a year.
Yep.
And I don't think we got to Tom.
Yep.
And Tom, I don't think we got to you yet. Tom, any closing comments before we move on?
Yeah, just a couple things. I'm sort of in Ben's camp. I understand there's probably, some impact. We're looking at 5 houses a year, maybe $12,000. I think that the cost to the average taxpayer is probably not going to be felt as hard as we're probably thinking it. I think the benefit is potentially higher with some of the $1 million grants, with easing some of the burden with maybe putting solar panels on the roof of the schools and easing that. I think that's going to have a bigger impact on the tax base than the burden that it's going to cause. So I am interested in seeing the one pager. I'm interested in talking with the building inspector. I don't know if we can get him in on Monday for some questions. I think, I've been supportive of the HEIC's work, since day one, and I know they've been pushing this forward. They've done a great job moving this along. I think there's opportunity for the town to move this forward. I think, I do want to, learn a little bit more about the cost impact, through this one pager that we see next week. But I think Ben spelled it out pretty clearly, with some of the impacts on major renovations and, just these small amount of homes that are built a year. I think it's not an impact. And if folks feel it is a major impact on them, we provide them the detail, we allow them to vote, and they can vote it down. I don't think we should withhold it from the voters. Give them the opportunity. It's not like that we're enforcing this on our own as a select board voting it in. We're giving the voters a chance to make the decision and be a climate leader. So yeah, I'm happy to push this to Monday.
So yeah, be prepared to vote and discuss and vote next Monday. I appreciate everybody coming, Tom and Tim and Jeff and everyone else invited to attend next Monday's meeting. And if we missed something or misinterpreted something, please reach out to me or Joe and clarify comments. And Emmett and Gene as well, thank you for doing your part and helping us become a better community.
And
no, I
Jack,
promise you, over time
and
we
Jack
will.
Whittier.
Jack's there too. Yes, and
Yeah,
thanks, Jack, for
excellent.
joining the group. So, all right, great
Thank you.
discussion. So, thank you.
And I just wanted to add, well, first of all, thank you for a very lively discussion. And I just want to remind people about the first vehicle. No, wait, I'm getting tired. The the electric vehicle first policy. As a vehicle is replaced, you consider first, could it be replaced by an electric vehicle? If the answer is no, you don't do it. And I am way in favor of the electric school buses, and I'd like to say I wish I had that when I was a student because those diesel fumes were terrible. So, just my
Agreed.
last
Thanks,
thing.
Gene.
Thank you very
Agree with
much.
that.
So we can move on to the gun and rod club with David. So, Joe, can you lead us into that topic discussion?
Yeah, so just real quickly, before I turn it over to Jeff and Dave. So Dave is here on behalf of the Hamilton One and Rod and Gun Club. Jeff is here on behalf of the Miles River Marsh Rats. Both leases are up in 27, so they need to be renewed. After consulting with town council, there's information in your packets about the clubs and where they operate on the town land out on Tobacco Road. I'll let them speak more to it. And specifically, the things to keep in mind is they're asking for leases longer than they've had in the past. I think they're looking for 20-year leases. Regardless of the term of the lease, town council noted that these do have to be put back out to bid. There's a requirement in the law every so often. We did do Miles River Marsh Rats not so long ago, but where they're asking for a longer term, we should put them out to bid again. So what all this question does is authorize the select board to enter into leases for the use of the property for gun clubs out there. We can do the RFP simultaneous to town meeting or even finish it up afterwards. But we want to make sure we get this before the voters because the select board can't approve a lease longer than that, longer than 3 years. So, and I'll leave that to Dave and Jeff to go into the details.
All right, Jeff, do you want to go first?
I was gonna hand it off to you.
All right, hey, I'll take the first shot.
That's fine. That's fine. Mine might be more simple in a way.
Yeah.
The Marsh Rats it's a skeet shooting club. So it's only shotgun. We were a tenant on the landfill for quite a few years, at least a decade or more. And we were evicted for the cap. And when the cap was completed, we went through a very long process with all the town boards, the select board, planning board, conservation commission, and of course the DEP. And so we have copious permits, recorded permits with the state, the DEP, and we've complied with all the requirements of the planning. We were granted at town meeting a 3-year lease. I believe it was for Joe, you might be able to help me, but it was around $8,500. And each year of that first 3-year term, we paid an additional $500. So we're right about $10,000 currently. That program was for a rollover. We had a 3-year term and then another 3 years that was allowed with that lease. So we're coming up to the end of our 6th year. So we are set for renewal. I can say that we in our lease, it's pretty explicit that the town police officers and others are welcome to come and train and shoot. We have it's a small membership of 50. We're not quite at 50 at this point. We've operated now without incident of any kind, and as far as we know, no complaints. Our schedule is restrictive. We shoot on Sundays and Saturdays between 10 and roughly 2. We do have the ability to have special events or other shoots throughout the year. So we're hoping that, and we feel we are good neighbors. We're really cooperative with the Rod and Gun Club. We share, you know, a strong interest in safety and training, and we're looking forward to a 20-year lease. The term is being negotiable, but in the process of getting back to the dump, we have a capital, a capital investment in that property approaching $150,000. So with all the permits and planning, site work, grading, and infrastructure, we we're not amortizing it over 6 years, and would really like to amortize it over a longer term. I was just being made aware of the RFP nature of this. We did go through that, and our proposal obviously won. So I think we're confident that we would not be forced to undo our investment and leave. So hopefully you'll consider it and put us on the warrant.
So Joe, should we do each one separately or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So Hamilton Rod and Gun Club. I'm the new VP who took over. Myself and Pat Cullen, he's a Beverly fireman. We've been fighting with the old leadership to make it more open to families, make it a more family oriented system. We have a huge growing number of women members now. That's been our fastest growing segment. The reason we're asking for a 20-year lease is the club's been there for 50 years. It's pretty well established. But we also have a lot of elderly members. As our members age, they don't pay fees due to their age. I'm trying to shift the club to a more youth-orientated program, archery, fishing, skeet and trap, like Jeff's group does, something that opens some of those Olympic style shooting events or scholarships that kids don't really get. We've also, in the agreement, I've spoken with the community house. We're going to make the club available to the community house upon request. All we need is at least 3 weeks so we can shut the club down, make sure it's safe so the kids can come up there and go fishing, go walk in the woods, obviously working with, keeping them on our side of the property so they're not going over to the other side. We have the archery stuff going on now. We have a new archery director, Drew Connors. He's a new dad, so he wants his kid the opportunity to get out there. But we also have to improve our property. Again, the buildings have all been there for an extended period of time. Things are getting old. We have a new treasurer, Donna. She worked at Salem State for a number of years. She was in charge of their finances for 30 years. She's helped putting together a long-term budget for us. But we want to, better pistol houses so they can be quieter, better rifle houses so we can muffle some of that ambient noise from the reverberation from the firearms. We'd have to work with the Concom. We want to put up, they sell shotgun catch nets, but those are extremely expensive, but they also are better environmentally. So a lot of plans that we have to try and pull the club into like the 21st century. But with that, we need to make sure that our investment is essentially protected. So that's where the 20-year lease comes in. I've also reached out to the senior center. We want to do senior fishing days, events for seniors also that they can get out there. In terms of helping the town, a group of our members went down the old fire trail and actually cleared the fire trail that goes out into that back wooded area, which was completely overgrown, trees down, and that's supposed to be a fire access road that was not cleaned out. We cleaned all that out. We've been cleaning up the best we can around the area because, again, it is an old dump. But old barrels, old tires, we've been getting them down and actually properly getting them disposed of over at proper dump sites. Went to environmental, started getting some of those invasive species out. So our membership is hungry for improvement. We're in a good place right now. We have, like I said, we have a large growing number of women members, which is completely changing the demographics of the club. So we have a lot more kids coming. So we're slowly shifting into more of this outdoors recreation club versus just a rod and gun club. So that's where kind of like the idea to go for a 20 and make more improvements came. So that's what we're doing.
Thank
If
you,
I could
Dave.
add, Bill,
And Jeff.
and to the members of the board, one of the things I'd like to keep in mind is that the property is 10 or 12 acres or so in total, but a lot of it is wet. We had an assessment of the property done when Patrick Reffert was still the planning director a couple of years ago, and it turns out that less than 5 of the acres is actually dry and would be usable, buildable for any other reason. And it's all broken up. It's not contiguous. It's not one 5-acre lot. It's pieces. So the way we have it right now, it's not really good for a lot else. We have an opportunity to make it's not a ton of revenue, but we do get some revenue from both clubs. I think we're around $15,000 or so from the Hamilton Wenham Rod Club and just under 10,000 from Marsh Rats, I believe, if that's right. And we'd be looking probably with a new lease to make some adjustment to that, but it's not going to really attract any other uses at this point.
Yeah, our goal right now is on the contract we see it. I think we're at 13.5. We'd be willing to jump to 15K for a locked in 15, guaranteeing the town $300,000 over 20 years. But then that allows us to build the capital gains, improve the grounds, improve what we can offer to give back to the town. One of the agreements we did come up with is I know the town's looking to do a front gate, that front gate access area to the town's property. The membership has agreed that if we get the 20-year lease, we'll then also, within financial reason, pay 1/3 of the cost of improving that gate if it's going to be an electric sliding gate for the town so that they can have key card access for the DPW. We're willing to throw in and help pay for a portion of that because that also protects our investment, and it also helps protect the anyone who's using that property. So I know that DPW had issues with illegal dumping, so we're willing to help pay in to protect that issue at that gate.
So Joe, what I got NC Mark has a question, but I'm gonna go through the board first and we'll get to public comment. But so Joe, talk us through again what does the board need to do tonight?
We just want to tonight. We just want to talk through some stuff. You're going to finalize the warrant on Monday. You don't have to vote on this tonight. We will be asking you to vote on Monday whether you want to include the articles on the warrant for consideration by the town meeting. If the town meeting doesn't,
so is it to negotiate? Is it to negotiate a 20-year lease, or is it actually the lease?
It authorizes the select board to sign leases, which which I will negotiate on your behalf, and you'll have the final say before they get signed, which is exactly what.
So a lease won't be. So a lease isn't going to be written. We're just authorizing the negotiation of a lease,
right? For a certain period, for the certain pieces of land.
For up to 20 years.
For up to 20 years.
And then John McGrath, have you looked at this? What's the pros and cons of negotiating a 3 versus a 20-year lease?
Yeah, I mean, if I can get the terms, we can just, connect on the, similar to what we did with the buyout of the cell tower lease. We checked the present value of the lease payments. What's it really worth to the town? So if I can get the terms that are being proposed, we can crank that out over the weekend and just have it available. So it's certainly not as elaborate as the cell tower buyout or longer leases or whatever. So, but we're happy to look at it. I don't have any terms though in front of me.
Yeah. I'm not sure if we're going to have terms. I'm not sure we're not going to have terms. We're just going to have we're just voting on the authorization to negotiate terms, not actually the terms. Right, Joe?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But it's good
I'm
to understand
yeah.
what's the structure of the current 3-year. Sorry, am I on mute?
No,
is it an escalator? Is it a fixed price that I heard earlier?
So the current contract that the Marsh Rats had, as Jeff said, was 3 years with 3-year extender, because we wanted to bring them in line with the timing of the Hamilton Wenham Rod and Gun Club. In case something had emerged and somebody wanted more access to the whole property, we both leases would be up at the same time. That hasn't happened. We've done an assessment of the property since then, and we've determined that it's not likely to generate much interest, even if we put it out on the market. The Hamilton Wenham Rod and Gun Club has a 50-year, almost 40 plus year history with the town, 50-year history with the town, and they've largely been
Uneventful.
renewed every time the lease has been up in the past. So we'll have to put out an RFP because it's for the lease of the land, and so the state law requires us to put it out. We put out an RFP for the lease of the land and for the use as a gun club, as a Miles River, or in the case of Marsh-Rats, it'd be for a shotgun club, and we take respondents. The two that are there are likely to respond. I don't know if there's anybody else in the market that will respond.
Right.
And
Yeah, no, I think they've been there 50 years. They've been a great tenant, I guess we'll call it. But have you ever considered other use of that area, solar or anything? I mean, 20 years is a long time. That's the only reason I asked.
So, the solar took the piece of the property that they thought was usable above the old landfill, and they're
Bill, I don't
operating
even remember.
there.
We
There's
did
no
we did
interest
this study
there.
like five. I don't even remember. We did this study like 5 years ago, and we looked at the
Yeah.
entire property, and we
Yeah.
looked. We sort of did this study, and I don't know, Joe, if you can pull that study for people to look at, but we did a study of this entire property. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew there was a study. That's why I asked, and I didn't know the outcome.
Yeah.
It less than half of the property is actually usable, and even the property that's buildable is a lot of it is within a buffer zone of a wetland. So you really limit what you can do there. It's not like you can put housing there or anything like that. And who wants to put housing on top of an old dump next to a solar farm anyway? So the options are really very limited. There might be some use at the front of the property where the town DPW uses it for things like drop-offs. They do some composting type activities at the front of it, and some store some materials for road improvements. That's all they use it for. So if the town gave that use up, there's an acre and a half, 2 acres there that might be usable for somebody else, but that wouldn't necessarily impact the gun clubs. So
yeah.
So Joe,
I'm in favor. I'm definitely in favor.
Yeah, Joe, if this didn't get passed, we can sign. The select board can sign up to 3-year leases without approval of the town meeting. Is that what you said?
I'll double check with town. I'll double check with town council. You can sign 3-year leases. We just want to be careful because they're coming out of extended leases, 6 years from Marsh.
There's some duration of There's some duration of lease we can sign as select board without going to town meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah, ours was 10.
I have to double check that.
10-year
Normally,
lease
I would say yes, but since you're just completing a 10-year lease and a 6-year lease, you might have to, get permission again. Otherwise, boards would just continually run 3-year leases and never ask town meeting, and that state doesn't want you to do that either. So
isn't that what we've been doing? Or
no, the Hamilton Wenham Rod and Gun Club got a 10-year lease in 2016.
And that was in front of town meeting, you're saying, or no?
I'm sorry?
This hasn't gone in, that didn't go in front of town meeting, did it? Or I'm asking.
I'll go back and check, but I thought it didn't. Even town council thought it had. I thought it had.
Okay.
Those are really good questions because I was interested that we had a rolling lease, so that we could renew it at least for one term. I wasn't actually aware at that time that it had to go to an RFP and go back to town meeting. I thought it was just going to be the select board that could make those renewals.
Yeah,
we
my
have
understanding.
a legal lease. It's been lawyered, and
right.
There's actually a document that lays out, how we operate and how we pay and all that stuff. So
yeah, we had to do it for the school, right? We had to do it for the school because the school needed a longer lease. It went to town meeting, so I think there's duration that has to go in front of the town meeting. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. What are we allowed to do?
My understanding is a 10-year. So you have the authority to go to up to a 10-year. Anything after that, we have to go to town meeting. That's why we're bringing this forward, because we're asking for a 20. So that's why it has to go to town meeting.
All right. So Joe, just confirm that for next. But we'll vote it next time. But Rosie and Ben and Tom, anything else? Any other questions asked David and Jeff before we vote on it next week and be prepared to vote next week?
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I think they've explained things very well, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, same here. No questions for me.
None.
All right, we have public comment from Mark Johnson. Mark, sorry to keep you waiting, but thank you. Go ahead.
No worries. Mark Johnson, Patton Drive. Having served on the landfill steering committee years and years and years ago, oh my God, it's a long time ago. We looked at what was developable. This is before we actually closed the landfill. We actually went out to bid, trying to look to if someone would have alternative uses, and there were no practical uses, and anything residential, people didn't want anywhere to be near with the gas coming off of the landfill and so on. Ironically, one of the highest spots that was not polluted or subject to the landfill was exactly where the marsh rats would be shooting over, because there's a rise of land across the wetlands. But the Conservation Commission let us know pretty clearly that there's no way they would allow you to build a bridge over to even put anything there, and anything you put there would still be bound by all sorts of setback requirements of being away from the wetlands a certain distance. So you have this block of high land across the way where you're shooting over towards, but there's not enough up acreage that's buildable to justify the cost of the bridge that's left. So we looked to see if there was anything there. The other thing that we were really concerned about when it came to the leases was the state let us know when we went out to bid, because the DEP was very involved when we were getting ready to close this thing, is they said if the gun clubs ever went away, the town would be responsible for cleaning up. And they said basically as long as gun clubs are in place, annual maintenance, preventives, cleaning up shells, not using lead shot, all that stuff was just manageable. But the moment a gun club no longer becomes a gun club, there is a cost, there is a cleanup required by state law. And the select board at the time, were saying, well, if it's 3 years, we can't ask the members to sort of budget for a cleanup fee for 10, 15 years out, because it's just a short period of time. And so we were always struggling with how do you handle the idea that to do something right there, which sounds like the marsh rats are doing, beautiful plans. It sounds like the right idea. Is that suddenly you have enough of a long-term plan that you can, in the lease, sort of dictate what happens at the end and how do you handle the cleanup and what's the annual sort of cleaning up responsibility and what's the end of lease responsibilities. You couldn't do that when the term was really short and 3 years. So I'm in, I love the plan. I like what it's doing. There's not really an alternative use for it. It sounds like you guys have, a really clever way that you want to use it. I just, keep your eyes. I'm just going to tell the select board, just keep your eyes on the end game of what happens when the lease is over. And then, just make sure that you have enough time to plan for it. That's all. So
Well, it's
anyway,
not disturbing.
good luck.
We've
It sounds
taken-
like a good idea.
It's disturbing we've taken that liability. So right now we have that, right? Like if
The liability only kicks in if the gun clubs leave.
No, I know, and I don't want that, you
Yeah.
know, but I'm just saying, like, we don't have any protection within our lease agreement today on cleanup cost. That's what I just heard.
Yeah. So
Because it's a
the
3-year
original
lease.
time, the original concern was that for years the shooting over the marsh was with lead pellets, and that was into the marsh, and there was no one went through and cleaned that up. So as long as the enforcement is of the steel, then the current use of the shotguns would not be doing the damage that the old lead shots.
And we've been
probably did.
liming. We have an environmental steward, and we've been liming out there for years, also just to make sure that anything even with the steel and everything, we do lead reclamation. We clean that out regularly. It gets taken down.
That sounds very
It's-
reasonable.
Oh, that's
We
great.
also, as part of our permitting, it's called you would know, it's called a P cup, post cap, DEP permit. And so part of our PCAP permitting was an actual management plan for cleanup of debris, wads, all that kind of stuff. So we're doing it continuously. And
Sounds-
and
no,
we're
The other guys are your audience. I'm in favor of what you guys are doing. I just think because it's 20 years or something long, we have time to give a little bit of long-term planning and thoughts to it. That's all.
Kind of why we want the longer lease too. Gives us that nice long-term planning.
All good.
Yeah.
It is a good.
So everybody should be prepared to vote on it next Monday. Any other questions or comments? Thank you for coming, David and Jeff. Sounds like you have great plans and leadership and thoughtfulness and proactive planning for your club. So good to see your involvement.
Terrific. Thank you.
Good night.
Have a good night.
And then we're gonna end this. I think we have energy for one more topic. Let's do the Patton homestead. So Joe, I read the letter in the packet. I'm assuming we all read the letter. Seems exciting. Seems promising. Once again, just about timing and about approach, about what we need to get done now and what I know it's something we've been talking about for many, many years, but it always seems quickly when you try and put it on a meeting in the next 2 months. So Joe, kind of walk us through what you need from us tonight and what the timing looks like.
So we got a monkey wrench a little bit. Rosie will agree, thrown into our laps. Just today, we got an opinion from council that they had researched the deed that was filed after the gift, and basically the deed says that in order to sell to a third party, we first have to get the property appraised and offer the property to certain heirs of the Patton family that are remaining at that cost. And if they decline it, or there's a bunch of different steps, but the short answer is if they decline it, then we can sell it to a third party. So we just found this out today. We have been operating under the assumption that the agreement had said that that in order to sell the property, then we would have to give 50% of the proceeds from the sale would go to a charity of the Patton family choice. But that is not what was registered with the deed. So I just got Leandra and Mark, I know you're hearing this for the first time. I just got that this afternoon and shared it with the board maybe 2 hours before the meeting. So I will send that to you and to the rest of the members of the Patton Task Force. Key things to keep in mind. We want to make a decision about how we want to move on with this property in this calendar year, because we haven't really budgeted anything in FY27 for maintaining the buildings. We know we're moving out of here in the spring, call it May sometime. So we've been carrying the cost of the building for the last 2 years as operating town hall. We haven't tapped into the Patton fund. There's only about $20,000 or so there. The Wyndham Museum currently is paying $500 a month for the space that they lease from us to maintain the archives, but they're selling the archives to this same group, the Patton Foundation. And the Patton Foundation is interested in keeping the archives in place. So we can probably, at the minimum, change the lease and at least on short term, let them lease the space to maintain the archives here while we figure out the long term. But we might have to go back to the drawing board here. The fact is, it's been studied up and down over the last 7 years since I've been here. We've tried a number of different things to have this property carry its own weight as a municipal entity. We just aren't able to do it. We're not able to move quickly enough. We're not able to devote the resources the building needs. As a municipal entity, we have other more pressing needs to spend our capital and things on. The purpose of the gift was to try to preserve the Patton family's legacy in the town, to preserve a piece of history, to support military veterans. Leandra and Mark could fill in for me where I'm starting to fail here. We're not able to do that without incurring significant costs on both an annual and on a capital basis going forward. So as the town removes the town offices from here, if we're able to partner with an entity, a nonprofit, granted, they wouldn't be paying taxes, but they would be able to take over the management of the buildings and whatever piece of property we sell to them and take that cost center off of the town. And with the same goals that the town envisioned when they accepted the gift in 2013. The town would then retain the remaining pieces of open space, the big lawn, the parking area, and the access to the Ipswich River to continue to be used as passive recreation for the folks in Hamilton. And we could even, if we go forward with the plan to build the Joanne Holbrook Patton Pavilion on the part that the town retains, the Patton Foundation has no problem with that. They'd be happy to have us as neighbors running limited programming there as well. So this offers us a lot of opportunities to do a lot of the things the town has said that they wanted to do over the last 5 or 6 years, but reduces the town's expense in doing that. What we would be asking if we put this on the warrant would be just for the town meeting to authorize the select board to sell a piece of the property. Currently, we're scheduling the survey of the property to show what part we're interested in selling. And then we have to have it appraised. The appraisal will help go into our RFP. We've already drafted a rough RFP, but it needs the diagram or the survey to show what we're selling, and it needs the appraisal price so that we know a target that we're looking to sell it for. Patent Foundation has to be informed of this latest development with the deed requirements, and they can go back to Helen Patton is on their board of directors, so I'm sure they will take that information back and discuss it with her and figure out how to proceed there.
But Joe, just to short circuit this a little bit because it's late and a lot of detail, but the nuts and the bolts of it are all we need to worry about right now with all the levers you got to pull is just authorizing us to sell the property. Whoever whether it's Patent buys it back or we sell it to the Patent Foundation or somebody else gives an RP and offers twice as much, that we can all work out later, right?
Right.
All you need right now is approval to just put it on the market, right?
Right. The town manager and the board of selectmen, or select board, excuse me, are the entities in the town that manage that business aspect of it. But we need the authorization to sell from the town meeting. So if you want to move forward in this calendar year, we can decide to not put it on the warrant for annual town meeting on April 11th. But I would say that we would need to be ready to go at a special town meeting in the fall because we aren't.
But that was my question. That was my question. Well, I don't know what we would wait on. We don't really care about the detail. We're not going to really know who's going to buy it anyways until we go through the RFP process and the appraisal process. So the only thing you really need from us is as a select board, do we want to move forward with selling the property, whoever buys it? And I don't know that we need to wait for that discussion. I think we all have an opinion on that now, but I'll go around the room and ask that question. But I mean, there's a lot of levers we got to pull and things we got to do, but the only question you're asking tonight is, do we want to put in the warrant to allow the property to get sold? So I'll go around the room here, but Rosie, any questions you got on that concept?
Yeah, no, because I've been in the loop on this. I agree with your analysis that we're only agreeing that we give the select board authorization with the town manager to sell the property. And I think there are a lot of ways to sort of deal with this. I mean, it's a bit of a monkey wrench, but it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And yes, all we need to do simply is just say that's sort of one thing we can decide tonight, that we can resolve that issue.
Ben?
I think all makes sense in terms of the direction of travel. The only question I would have would be, do we have, Joe, it might be a question for you, do we have flexibility in terms of how the RFP is structured to try to achieve like the outcome that we want as far as community benefit?
Yeah, the initial draft already speaks to that, already outlines the things that we're looking for in the sale of the property. So the respondents would have to, kind of fulfill those requirements, or we could choose to not sell it.
All right, and can we have, like, when we get this, like maybe in a couple of weeks or a few weeks, we could get that in front of the board so we can all have a look at it? It'd be great.
Yeah, I definitely bring it to you for input. I mean, that'd be fine.
And we have I think the only important thing I think we need to set aside is that we have the ability to parcel off a piece of the property so we can keep a lot of the.
You've already done it once. Yeah, we own the property. So even though it was a gift, we own the property. So we can do with it what we want. We can divest ourselves of it in pieces. We can keep it all. We can sell a piece of it. I think that we're well within our rights as property owners to parcel it off.
Cut it up as much as
a buildable lot. So that's why we're having the A&R survey done.
Okay. Bill Wilson, I know we've been talking about this for years, so.
Yeah, no, I'm in a general agreement here. I mean, it was nice and packaged the way it was, the intent of the gift, and to continue on the way it was packaged. I do think it's better to go to town meeting with a kind of intended use. So if we can describe the RFP and what we want it to be versus just give us, a blank check to sell it and do whatever we want.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So that's my
That's
own.
a good point. Yeah.
Piece.
That's a good point. And Tom?
I did ask Mark and Leandra and John to be here on this item because they've all been involved in helping the town trying to figure out what to do with the property over the last 5 or so years. So I don't know if they have things that they want to add or not.
Yeah, let Tom go, and then we can go around the room. But Tom, any
Yeah, no,
comments?
I'm in agreement. I agree with all the points made. I think, Bill, you had a good point on selling the package. I'm supportive of that, but overall, the direction, I'm in agreement.
I mean, as the properties was something we really wanted to maintain, but it just turned out it just wasn't the right type of property. Being a residential, trying to turn it commercial. Thank goodness we had it for the last couple of
Yeah.
years for town hall to be there, and that we got some good use out of it. But I think the property is the more valuable thing to us, and the fact that it could possibly go to the Patton Foundation, I think, is a real big win for everybody that maintains the family name and the family stuff. But yeah, we definitely would like to hear anybody who wants to speak, who's been working on this in the background.
Sure. Hi, I am Leandra DeFeo. I am president of the Friends of Patton Homestead, and I also live in Hamilton. I was first introduced to Jeff Wells, who's the head of the Patton Foundation, about a year ago. And over the past year, have gotten a chance to get to know him. He's been up here a couple times, visited for Military Service Day, and was up here recently for a couple meetings. Met a couple members of his board. And just my entire board has been really impressed with Jeff's work and the entire Patton Foundation. Their plan for the homestead really aligns with the spirit of Joanne's original gift, and then also our organization's mission, which Joe was getting at, to preserve history, honor veterans, and welcome community. That's exactly what they want to do. So it's really a great situation. And we're excited for this opportunity for the homestead. And our board definitely endorses the sale.
It's good to hear.
Yeah,
Thank you.
great.
Sure.
I think Mark Johnson also on Friends of Patton Homestead. We gave a lot of thought as to why town meeting should approve this. And it was pretty clear that we had really lofty goals when we accepted the gift agreement to do all the programming and all the things we wanted to do. What we learned over the last 10 years is it's really hard for the town to do that, to take care of the property the way it needs to, takes money, and that we really couldn't deliver the programming and the respect to the history that the Patton Foundation would be able to do. So it's really exciting that the Patton Foundation would step in and do the things that we specifically accepted the gift agreement to do. And we're hoping that if the town remains possession of the open space land, which is important, very important, and that's properly protected, that the way the nonprofit, the Patton Foundation, would take care of the property and what they would do there is exactly what we wished that we could have been doing over the last 10 years. So that's, we're really excited that this opportunity happens now, and it happens to be exactly when the town is moving back into a town hall. So it seems the timing is really good as well.
Yeah, no, it is good timing, and I applaud I don't know if it was hard work to find this or luck to find this, but I applaud the solution here, because I think it is something that we've all been trying to find the right solution for the last 10 years, working really hard to, and this might be the right answer. Sounds like we need another fund set up, Joe.
Yeah, I think that while the state law is pretty clear, the proceeds from the sale of land or from the sale of real property by a municipality have to go into capital. So you don't have it doesn't go to the general fund. It can't just go to anything. It'll go to your capital stabilization fund or some other capital fund for future capital purposes.
Okay. And then John McGrath, you guys are going to talk about this at your meeting on Wednesday too? Is this on your agenda?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're going to talk about all the warrant articles, but I mean, financially, this has been a win for the town. If you go back over the 10 years, because of the sale of Patton Ridge and the revenue generated by that. And we obviously are sitting on $680,000 in the Fields Fund, which was part of the sale. So anyway, yeah, we're spending a lot of money every year to maintain it. And I think this is a win-win if we can get the foundation to take it, and a win-win for the town because we'll have open land. So, anyway, so we'll discuss it as well on Wednesday.
Okay. So once again, be prepared to vote for this on Monday.
I think you've already discussed the prudent investment rule and the operating override and debt exclusion. So we have all those questions laid out for you. That actually we'll have a draft of the warrant tomorrow. So we're filling in numbers and finalizing details. But Tom McEnany's already been working on the warrant. So just really whether everything stays in it or we take some things out. That's all I have for that.
Joe, just a quick question. There's a slot for citizens petition. I've not heard that there are any.
No, we created the draft of the table of contents account for everything. I removed the zoning articles after the planning board voted last week that they did not, or 2 weeks ago, that they did not have any zoning articles. Until you close the warrant, there's a possibility that citizen petition comes in, so I'm leaving it there. But at 5 o'clock on Monday, if nobody has come in with a citizen petition and you close it that night, we'll remove that right from the bottom of it as well.
Okay.
Just a placeholder.
All right. No, I think it's good. We had good discussion. I think most of us know where we're going to end up, but I think we're going to vote in 4 days. So we might as well just think about it and be ready to vote on Monday when we're a little fresher. We're going to have less things on the agenda.
Hopefully it'll make a little quicker meeting then on Monday because you've already talked it all.
Joe, anything else we need to discuss?
Just real quick,
New business,
you had me place under new business the discussion of a dedication of town hall addition.
Yeah. And I was remiss in the beginning of the meeting to talk about Jay Butler whenever I was on the call, so I apologize, but I wanted to take a moment to thank Jay Butler for all his service to town. And as a group, we decided to do something. So Joe, is this part of that discussion?
Yeah. So, I mean, members had mentioned that you wanted to do something to recognize all of Jay's efforts. I thought that in light of the fact that Jay, as the leader of the Community Preservation Committee, actually Rosie had mentioned first that maybe we should do a plaque for him at the town hall when it reopens. And taking that a step further, why don't you consider naming the addition after Jay Butler? The town would not be where it is with regard to that building without Jay and his stewardship through the Community Preservation Fund. I remember the first real conversation I had with him after I became town manager here. I started here in September, and then I was up at the cemetery I think it was for Veterans Day. And Jay pulled me aside and he said, I want to figure out how to pay for the town hall with community preservation funds. I said, I don't know, I'm not sure you have enough money to pay for all of it. He said, well, I want to pay for as much as I can. I said, all right, let's do that. So he's been a champion of the town hall project. He's been a champion of the community preservation of a number of different things in town. I believe he was a Little League soccer coach, just a great guy, involved in his community and his churches. And he really helped keep the town on task when it comes to the town hall. So building on Rosie's idea to put a plaque, I think you should vote to put a plaque, and the plaque should say, this edition is dedicated in the honor of Joseph J. Butler for his leadership and stewardship in helping the town renovate town hall, or something along those lines.
I'm in favor of that. I think we should put on the agenda for next Monday as well. And so we can put it as a topic for discussion. We can recognize him and vote on it. And but I'm in favor of that. Everybody else probably shake their head, but yeah. Rosie, great idea. So thank you, Rosie, for coming up with something that makes sense. I'm going to miss his PowerPoint. I'm going to miss his PowerPoint presentations. Who's going to take over those PowerPoints? Those were works of art.
I think Robert Preston was
organized.
I think Robert Preston is voted as the new chair.
He is. He says it's the president, though. I don't get that, but he's the new chair. So yeah, no, I'm all in for that. There was some in our last meeting though. They were talking about maybe something on the athletic field too. I don't know if it's worth coordinating too what we're doing, but I'm all in on the addition recognition.
Is the addition just the elevator, or is it something else as well?
It's an entry,
Yeah,
it's an
it's the
entry
elevator,
piece.
it's the
and
staircase that goes around it. The addition becomes the new front door, for lack of a better term, of town hall. It's considered the main entrance to and from the building, and it'll, most of the parking will be in back. Most people who enter that building will go in and out through that addition. Same way they do at Wenham Town Hall now. So.
All right, anything else? Good meeting today. Good discussion. Lots to ponder. Anybody else have anything to add before we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All's
Aye.
in favor. Roll call. Rosemary,
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Tom Myers,
Tom Myers, yeah.
Bill Wilson,
Bill Wilson, aye.
Ben Galuza,
Ben Galuza, aye.
William Wilson. Thanks everybody.
Good night.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
10 o'clock on the dot.